Kev, my brother, it appears we are live on the 3rd of Feb 2020. We're on. All right, brother, you want to say hello?
Good evening. Anybody who's given their time and to appear, here we are. Hope you're well. Hope you've had a good week. Oh yeah, it's already Monday, isn't it? Sorry, yeah, just remembered.
We're well out of kilter.
Yeah, I am especially. Yeah, I just had to think, hang on, last day off for Anne, so it must be Monday. So, I hope you have a good week this week. I've caught up, that's it, I'm up to date now.
That's my fault it's we've had a little delay on the getting on the tube on the camera, so right. That's what it is. It's it feels a bit weird for me as well. We had the premiere of Claudio Santos and me on Samfu Sun and Moon over the weekend, and I didn't have a chance to do it last night after the premiere, and we weren't available Saturday. So it's now Monday. Yeah, how it flies when you're having fun or when you're busy being a debt slave to the city of London. I'll start. Come on, let's go. Good evening, scribes. We're here today to discuss what's been given to me in an email or two, information, what you would like to contribute with the, I don't know, last few weeks, month. It's been a year or so in the news, scandals and failings of on horrendous levels. So we're not here to capitalise on others' misery and get views and stuff. We're here to do a job. Simply, we don't want to be here, but we are. It's the end of a long Monday for me, and I'm quite tired. But this has been ordered by the ways that we see things and the way that they are. I'll read, like I say, from emails and information that I've got. You are allowed to put on links in here on the video feed, and scribes to let us know where you want us to have a look at for news related, newsworthy findings. And ultimately, for those that wonder, what do you do this for? They're just scroungers. They don't deserve free money. Well, it's not money, and we're all in debt, and we know the truth about quite a lot. And when you are here on this realm, we now know that there's an insurance policy, and these policies have got we'll say value. I'll be careful with my words. A credit system with them. So whatever you're asking for and submitting and manage with a form and giving with the liability with the afforded signature on behalf of the legal entity, then they're taking a dip underneath as well. And whatever anybody goes to sign for unemployment benefits, we'll call it loosely, depending on your landmass, the systems are taking cuts as well, and they make out that it's their money, and their purse strings. And what infuriates me is, I'll just keep going, because when I discovered such things as the Panama Papers and the Cayman Islands and the agreement that it made with Britain to be a little bit more open, and Swiss bank accounts, and what I see happening through my discovery with the trusts and the offshore businesses, that such people like the HMRC executive that resigned of 2012, David Hatton or something, I think he was, and what he got up to, David Cameron's dad, Ian Cameron, and what his estate was valued at 10 or so million. When he the moment come to sadly look at it, there was 2.7 million. So there was hidden millions, and Blair and everything. So the City of London, upon the untimely demise of the Commonwealth and the Empire, as all these land masses woke up and got strength and found independence, at this same time, I've seen through the trust and equity and the offshore businesses and, getting back on point, I've seen a rise in the City of London's, acquisitions and councils giving contracts to companies that are offshore. Businesses are offshore, but yet our government. And so then we get these people that are based offshore that are avoiding tax loopholes, dishing out our money, but then keeping it to themselves and failing miserably. Well, that's why we're here. Kev, over to you, my good man.
No, it is all moody. It is that terrible. It is scandalous what's going on. It's all lining each other's pockets.
Dirty warfare. It's business and it's dirty warfare. Yeah, go on.
Giving business to or big contracts to companies that ultimately you've probably got lots of shares in and stuff like that. And it's horrid. It's also horrid. Every little move.
I see it as use of paper, ignorance of, but it's not ignorance. It's like a spider's web that leads back to London now, because when the Empire and the Commonwealth and the demise and the independence happened and everybody woke up, what happened is, from what I can see, the Bank of it. I mentioned BCCI. I believe it was Henry Keller, it's English, Kelly, I forget, John Kerry pointed out in America about the London scandal and said something along the lines of the BCCI had direct links with one of the intelligence agencies and its offshore activities, and there was a Bank of England knew about the BCCI and all of its activities, and instead of like sorting it out and laying down the rod, what they did was try to prop it up and stop it crumbling. And the strength of the BC, and it's like these are things that are internationally, financially, on a monarchical, all levels of intelligence of a national level, people and institutions are aware, but a blind eye is turned, and it's such things has, and it's just incredible what we seem to have forgotten. And when I learned, like I say, about these offshores and the tax and the benefits and the beneficiaries, and we found foreign sitters trust in the form of what were they now, the Quasi and the Margaret Thatcher in the 80s, and the privatisation and the capitalisation of it all. It's usurpation is one thing and sweat equity, but when you see how many billions and the private banks and how the bank lends and what the increases are and the perpetual debt, not only can the man that's alive now, that's on its arse, get the money and the credits that is due, but our unborn lineage, by manufactured, non-consent, basically, are in debt, and that's got to be a crime to put somebody, a soul that hasn't even reached this plane yet, into debt. So this is a system. It has no soul, and it's got to get bigger and bigger. And we're here to interface a little bit and to take comments, criticism, praise and grumble. Right. Kevin's done a lot of work and is continuing to see the language and stuff. So over to you again, Kev. Sorry, I'm getting carried away.
Really? I noticed. No, the whole thing never. And obviously, the way the system is at the moment, you can't ever get rid of the debt because we can't pay debts with debts. It's all promises. So all that nonsense about, we've used the National Insurance Fund to pay off some of the national debt. You haven't paid anything off. You've just transferred it over there. Now it's paying more interest. Nothing's paid. It's ridiculous. Filthy, filthy system, and they're very good at it. Well, I think they've earned enough out of it now. For what it's worth.
I'm going to do a document comprising of my notes of all of the random bits that I've fired off over the last 2 to 3 years, of even going back to the the invasion of 1066 and the only place that they couldn't conquer. I forgot to mention this to somebody the other day in a chat, and it come back to me after I'd finished. I went, that's the crux of it. There was a deal done. If you look in history of the occupation, once the invasion of the landmass was done in 1066, then you have a deal, and this London city and like I say, London town, this is where the business is being done, and it's a mighty powerful place. I want to say hello to the scribes and the viewers, initiates, guild members.
I was just gonna.
Go on then. You can. Off you go then. Off you go, Kev.
Jerry, Albert, Lisa, Atom, Quinn. I think that's all in there at the moment. Anybody else that's listening? Hello, evening all. I can see all your shouts. I'm responding right now. I hope everybody's all right.
I see a lot of the usual heads. Thank you for joining. We'll try and get to the juicy bits in the beginning. So those of you that have to be up and about early on, that may have to turn in or get fast on, as I say. The pinnacle here is. I brought some news about, the deaths of folk, persons waiting to get benefits that are, on, what was it, PIP at Christmas time. and we've got some links from a site called callumslist.org that I brought to you, and I want to go through some numbers before this cast is over, and I'll go back to that site to get that link. And I did get something from Nonna about that I'll read later. Once we've gone, I want to give the scribes a chance to ask a question or put some comments in first, but I've got numbers about DWP, and I'm concerned about let's say how do I put this nicely, but I need to be quite this is a situation where you need to be cruel to be kind.
Just say it.
How do like dads that gym bunnies and things like that, these guys that have credit and cars on finance and go to the gym, and their ego is mostly everything, and they don't really chat to the friends, and inside they're crumbling, but outside they look like a brick Scheisen house, and you wouldn't know, you wouldn't dare speak to them because they look that hench, you know what I mean? But there's a lot out there that don't communicate, that don't really chat to anybody. We're all on the smartphones. We are networking, That's another thing I'll touch upon, networking and the socialist, side of things. The Soviet had a socialist networking side, and this digital networking is like another form of an encumbrance of a web. But these guys, they network on these handsets, and they don't get to health and wealth care. This is what we said about the counselling bit in the United Kingdom. I know we operate as men under law, with law, at law, commanding law as the crown, but we want to counsel and offer counselling advice on this as well, because there's nothing stopping us, and me and Kev have got the life experiences at our time in life to be able to bounce stuff. The universe has given us experiences to give you first hand, off the cuff, generalized. We're not going to go too deep, Kev, remember, but we'll do what we can. So these men out there with all this bravado, they are not able to speak to anyone. And there's ladies now, because the imagery for ladies has dramatically changed since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and I'm just saying that they leave suicide notes and they check out and they do things now that not now, it's always gone on, but it's becoming more recurrent when they can't manage the finances, or they lose the job because of politicians fumbling and bumbling, no fault of their own, and then they get on the benefits roll, and when things go wrong with that, or they get then life soon, without you being a criminal, can turn out of control. You could just have a simple accident and become dependent on the state, and when you don't conform, then these guys, they give up, and they don't want to appear weak, so they just check out, and it's happening a lot. So mental health, Kev, we talked about, didn't we, saying we'd like to brush upon we've both been in a dark place, so we don't mind trying to help others privately or generalized, mantras, and what you've done and what I've done is and others, there's others out there, but we're here to chat. So it's quite a serious cast, isn't it? Over to you again.
Yeah, if anybody out there ever wants to chat about them, don't have to be male, but say Dave and I.
Sorry.
Just about 8-9 years now of depression, but this last year has been really dark. Probably about 14 months in total, but I've managed, to be coming out the other side. It certainly feels that way at the moment. I do feel much better mentally, much more inspired, motivated, and that's just changing patterns of changing reactions or non-reactions even to when certain signs appear. So, but no, more than happy to talk to people. I know sometimes it's not easy, but believe me, been to some really dark places. I couldn't speak for 2-3 days, ridiculous, mad. So yeah, here we are, and it's important as well, and it does help. If you can find anybody just to offload some stuff onto, feel free. Yes,
the reason, another reason why it's an important time is because the state of the social housing is quite bad, and we in this country have a problem with black toxic mold, which is to some folk just an every year common occurrence. But when you look at the effects of these mold infestations that 50% of social housing will get every year, it's quite horrendous, you know, the respiratory and biological functionality that it affects. And then it says the advice and guidance from respectable, independent and governmental sources says that it is an accelerant for depression. It will lead and can give you depression as well. And I went, what? When I read that, I'm not saying I was surprised because I think I know everything. No, but not the opposite. I went, what? Mold can give you depression? Because I look at it like a simpleton scientist, like, you know, how does mold... Oh, I suppose it would actually. If you were stuck somewhere and you kept getting it and it was making you ill, then of course you're not going to be happy. Oh, look, joy, mold, like some trippy episode of Ren and Stimpy. Mold, yay.
Ren and Stimpy, brilliant.
Idiot, Kevin. So yeah, sorry. But depression... I'm trying to bring happiness to blackness. That's what I do. But you know, this is an everyday occurrence on hundreds of thousands of homes, and we're not on top of something like that. Science and technology should have rendered this long gone. You know, and it's just insane. It really is.
Well, the drugs aren't the answer. That's the other thing with the, you know, basically if you go and see your quack, even if, you know, you get put under a, you know, the mental health unit, local one, whatever you want to call it, like I was, and get prescribed, but that's not, you know, that's easy for them, and all that shit makes you do initially is just not give a toss. It doesn't solve anything, and then ultimately, like everything else, over a relatively short period of time, you build up a tolerance, and then, you know, you're back to square one, really, but now you're taking the drug that's not doing anything anymore. So, but, you know, say my experience with pharmaceuticals has been two near-death experiences, really, and that's pharmaceuticals. And, you know, I've done plenty of other things in my life, and funny, the legal stuff was the stuff that nearly killed me. I think it's still trying, but I have to say it's... I don't take a lot of it now. Alternatives, all of it. But it did me a lot of damage, that stuff. So, yeah.
It's just, we're on psychoneurotoxins with caffeine and fluoride, sugar. Sugar's more addictive than cocaine, lest we not forget. And it's, you know, it's wine o'clock when folk come home from a stressful job that they can't manage to do because it's just, you know, too much. Basically, sometimes it's what folk do. You come home, man comes home and self-medicate sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So sugar, I mean, I was all my life I've been terrible sweet tooth, you know, but the last, it's probably longer, it's got to be at least 5, 6, maybe 7 years. I sort of stopped taking it in tea and coffee and stuff like that, and then I don't use it on cereal. Anything now that's too sweet, it's remarkable the change. Now I can't stand it, you know. So, but yeah, cut out all the refined sugar as much as I could. That included stopping doing a lot of soft drinks, you know. They're just full of them. Just, oh my God. And that was one of the biggest things for me. You don't realise it. And of course, especially at the time when I was taking morphine and OxyContin, so you're basically a government smack addict. So you're everything that's sweet, just like a junkie. Sweet stuff, one meal a day, do you know what I mean? So I just ended up, because I wasn't moving very far, so I went up to 23 stone at one point. And then I had an out-of-body experience. And decided it's time to stop it all because I was going to die otherwise. But yeah, here we are, 8 stone later. I say I can't really exercise, but I'm just cutting crap out. Soft drinks, sugar. Amazing what you can do. There you go, next, your go.
I'm going to look at this. I'm trying to find data and information, and I'm just doing searches.
Okay.
And,
I was just going to say, Steve H, hello mate. Anthony Moore, evening.
Thank you for sharing that information and data as well. I have not took my eye off the ball. I also have had encounters with death, accidental, by rolling Tigras at 4:30 in the morning, tired on icy Barnsley roads, and I've fallen off cliff. Fallen off cliff, everyone. I've fallen off a cliff in Devon, Sandy Bay or something when I was 10 and broke a radius ulna and a wrist. So I've been shot at by whilst abroad, and disgruntled club owners will say, and I've had a scrape or two with Raki and nightclubs and DJing, and losing things and my mind, soul to some extent, and I've been through courts and had to fight to get a court writ to say that I'm sane and okay, Dad, to have the access rights to my sired sons, that I was fighting for access to children at the time, and barristers and court writs. It's it's hard. It's mental anguish, and we're not legally trained anyway. We're not business trained. We're not trained in any of the practices, customs, rituals, anything. And then it's we've got no resources of our own, and I just think that sometimes when we ask for help, Greg's drawing up a triangle. It's not any triangle. It's a Dharma triangle where you've got
it's an M&S triangle.
Yeah, it's a G-star phoenix down. Good Lord, I cannot. It's a
triangle.
It's got the victim, but then it's got the perpetrator. But the perp is not the perpetrator, the inflictor. The inflictor of the, because I'm trying to think of settler and think of grantor. The inflictor of the pain is at the top, and then you've got in the trustee position. You've got the victim, but then also the victor can also come in as another position, which wouldn't be settler, beneficiary, trustees style. It'd be like the one that comes to remedy the pain, but they're also inflicting the pain, the same hands. Do you know what I mean? So it's a double-edged sword. What this Dharma triangle? These aren't the right words that I'm using. I forgot that. Yeah,
it's not named after Jeffrey Dahmer, is it?
It's something like that. It's definitely not karma, but it'll be interesting for us to go through and for us to actually roll out and show what go on with systems. Systems are related. The language and the word system, benefit system, education system, money system. These are the word system I found unique. I forget what country, but it's exclusively related to sewerages and pipes. And I think Roman or around that era, system is a strange word that isn't me and dictionaries and whatnot. I know I'm off track here, but I'm bringing us back on track. The systems that we have are all things that get flushed down the toilet, and every system that you can bring to me, we could basically flush down the toilet because it's not really as effective and as it could be.
Indeed. I'm just going to go back a little bit. We just talked about mental health and blah blah blah, what we just went through. I was just going to say, just along those lines, the last sort of year, about 4 months back and beyond, I wish I'd had some sort of training to handle some of the stuff that I was being told. It was really, I wasn't prepared for some of that, and that didn't help. That didn't help things. Things I wasn't prepared. People coming and basically, breaking down, telling you they've had enough, they're going to end it, and the kids are going to go with them and all that. I mean, whoa, lots of, oh my God. Would like to have had a bit of insight how to deal with stuff like that, because that was quite heavy.
It breaks families up, and then you have separation of families, and you have the guardianship. The black doomy gloomy one with the skull and bones on comes into port. Guardianship. Anyone? Come on.
Oh yeah, just what you need.
It's not nice. What we see, how we find man trying to be honourable and doing the right thing, but walking into the jaws of death, kind of.
Yeah. Into the belly of the beast, Jesus. Sorry, I didn't take his name in vain, but I did.
I'm still looking for one more bit of data. It was the list. I forget where I found the list of that I want to go through later, but I'll go to the chat room and see if there's comments or input. Anybody got anything to say?
I've got a couple of little things. I'm just going to say them while we're on here, so anyone listens to it later, it might be helpful, but it might be helpful to anybody on here who might know somebody. On the PIP consent forms.
There we go. Sorry.
So on the PIP's form, where it comes to you signing at the end, there's a bit in there, and it says you agree that the DWP, blah blah blah, and consent to us basically giving anybody that works for us your data, etc. What I think you should consider doing is circle the word consent, because say it's all down by the, where you're about to sign off. Circle the word consent and asterisk it, and apparently there's a space under where you sign. Put the asterisks in there and just say, I agree the DWP may process my data, but any third parties you will require express written consent and for a full disclosure and my express written consent before any data is passed on. So you can, don't forget that form's a negotiation, so point some things out and change it. Because I say that's relatively new. So you can do that, which is a good thing. As I say, just circle the word consent. Just say that, full disclosure must be given of any third parties before any data is transferred to them. That'd be an interesting thing. Council tax collection, etc. I sort of was reading something, looking at something the other day. Anyway, apparently you can also ask the council for their published debt recovery protocol, process. Because apparently if they haven't got a published one, then they can't be chasing this money. So it's just one of those questions worth asking, just an extra little nail in the coffin, or even just a tack in the shoe to upset them a bit more. Depends how you like to play with these people. But yeah, they've got nothing published. It would render any collections null and void. So just something to ask for, like articles of association and memoranda and stuff like that. Just make things awkward, and you're entitled. And same with debt collection agencies. They have a pre-action protocol that they have to follow before they can start coming to your door and all that. Although actually they're not allowed to come to your door, even though they do. But there's a pre-action protocol, so get it and ask them if they followed it. Simple. Just a few little things there to take into consideration, people, when you're dealing with the parasites that be. Dave, back to the studio.
Yes. Less abled and vulnerable are dying, and they're being told they're fit for work, and these are by private companies that may or may not be onshore, offshore, and they may or may not be licensed, registered and kosher or not. We've got to we've got to address the fact that there is a lot of data and figures and news and parliamentary reports and MPs speaking up for John McDonnell, Labour, Hayes and Harlington. I've got some stuff on. I'm on a page here. I'm back onto the callumslist.org. I'll put it into the chat room so others can see it. Actually, it's not a secret, but yeah, right. I'll go to the room as well. We've got.
Yeah, I'm just can I sorry just shout to Albert quick.
Oh,
Albert, I've got down here a copy of their published debt recovery procedure, and then I've put in stroke protocol. Apparently, they should have one published.
I've just posted a link for the mortality statistics, ESA, income benefit and SDA claimants. So you've got employment support allowance, incapacity benefit or severe disablement allowance report, and statistics going back I think to 2015. So I want to just to focus, I know you're talking to Albert as well, that's fine, but
right.
yeah, just to focus.
I've got you, Albert.
Yeah, that we have a few good men and women that restore our faith in human decency, and they do make a vital difference. And they're the scribes that are with us now, me and you, Kev. There's a speech that I'll play later on, and I got these figures for you to have a look at, and you can go to callumslist.org. I am not circumventing for the trolls and shills of Tube and others. Channels can get strikes for putting in links of websites that deviate from the Tube domain, but when you're doing it for the thread of the video and for newsworthy sources, then I don't think that should be charged with circumventing. I've had a few warnings sent about things are changing ever, but you look at those two external links, and Kev, over to you and Albert. Yeah, man.
Yeah, just having a look. Right, cheers for that, Albert. Well done, mate. It's like when you're talking to somebody and you're scribbling stuff down, then you're trying to this guy's about 3 sentences ahead, and I'm trying to still remember stuff from 3 sentences before to quickly write them down. So
yeah, carry on, brother. All as a tongue, goat, grantor of absolute trust. The goat trust. I like bear trust. Not that I've got an anagram for bear and what that would mean, but bear is, if you think about the portrayal of Adam and Eve naked in front of the Creator and in the garden, and they were told not to go, they were both told not to eat from the tree, do whatever you want, but your trust is between them and God, and they're naked in that trust, because at that point it was at the beginning of this story, and he leaves them to it, Creator, Elohim, whatever, goes away.
Talking snake, mate.
Yeah, man. So the Creator's gone, and he trusts that they will be good and not eat from the apple, and they're naked with no clothes. So you got some kind of bare naked testamentary trust right there in your face, hidden in the book story. So when you say goat to me, I like that. I like the way you think. And snakes, yes, serpents, usurpation, usury, serpentines, snake business, when the state becomes involved with foreign, what did I say? Offshore businesses, not foreign, because that's a wrong type of angle. The offshore is the key, and the tax avoidance of these deals that are done, which makes the tax paying, if you want to just be loosely terming all this, the tax paying fund, the public purse of the UK, forking out for corporate half-baked rubbish services that are then going to take the profit and put it somewhere else. And we wonder why our landmass and way that we are is looking kind of bleak at the minute, because as I've said, we're finding out the intricate design of the war. When we say there's a new type of war and so forth, it has all changed. The accountants that there are in London and that there are in the government and the HMRC and whatnot. I believe Kev had some, I know you don't have to say it now, Kev, but you gave me some juicy information about HMRC, and if you didn't, I know it was somebody else, and I've got it written down about their head office and where it was allegedly based, and how they locate, and how they work. That might not be the same now, but I had some juicy info about the setup of, and again, it's just
Yeah,
incredible.
was that about their registered Parliament Square address?
I can't remember. It was an address, yeah, and I've got another
Yeah,
one. that I
100
found.
Parliament Square is the one of the. I mean, they've got obviously registered addresses, but 100 Parliament Square, I do believe, is the main, and that's marked as inactive if you go and check it out. So, what does that tell you? Apart from the fact that you then realise that HMRC are another private business, so show me the contract.
Yeah, I'm just dismayed at man's inability now to manage, not having a go. But yeah, we are privy to certain things, being of this world, but not being a part of it. While actors play a part, there's another key line there of, I am of this world, but I am no part of it. Well, we are no part of it now. We have an actor to play our part. We can, so. This isn't the ultimate, remedy in any way, but we need to recognise that there is a problem, and if the government are doing things because badly because they've taken this amount of time to not do Brexit in 3.5 years, and we've had Duncan Smith introduce the welfare reforms and Conservatives and management of, so we've swapped and changed colours, but the reforms are getting harsher. And the profits probably land, it's just insane what's happening when we are the source of the credit, and the signature allows the credit. This is the thing, and then when man doesn't get it, and as well, Kev, when you get awarded something and you win, then you might be made to wait some time before you actually get it in that. So they still. Kind of, it's what would you say? Would you say it's belligerent? Would you say it's obfuscation, or would you say it might be malicious?
I would personally.
No, we don't
I
get
would
personal.
say it's clearly malicious.
No, don't get personal. But
no, I am talking about a personal situation. But when you've found out all the facts, and basically you know that they can pay you your money. And I've had this myself, in 30 minutes into your bank, then when they start taking 6 weeks or more to pay you just because they don't like the fact they've had their ass kicked again, it's clearly malicious. There's no excuse. It's ridiculous. But this is what they do. This is just further proof of how they treat you. They don't give a shit. I just hate just the thought of being in a room full of people that thought like that. And they're just ordinary people, even the fucking people on the phones. I don't know, there's a big dark fucking place where they're all gathered, I know that.
Yeah, they're stressed out, the phone handlers, the administrators on behalf of the companies there that we've got, Capita, Atos, DWP, Maximus, to name a few, limited to but not exclusive. Other such department for wanky people are available in your area.
Other departments, are available.
If you
that would be just as fucking useless.
If you yes, they will kill you. It will take twice as long to kill you. These ones, they won't kill you.
Oh yeah, they'll drag it out a bit while they're dipping in the till.
Oh, I don't make lightly of death. I just, respect and love to all. For we have to lighten it somehow and just make a joke of where we're at.
Oh, you have to make a joke of it. You send you mental. Believe me, when I first, as I've said before, when you first sort of, this whole shit show becomes clear, how everything works, and you realise it's all bollocks. That is the worst time. Or it was for me, the anger, and of course I'm trying to know what I know, and I'm trying to speak to these people on the phone, and just sort of end up getting wound up and all the rest of it. And then I thought, no, this isn't the way to deal with it. So now when as I started saying things to them and their answers were laughable, that's exactly what it is. It does, just laugh down the phone. And I just make a big joke out of it, about the whole thing, and that's how I have to deal with it. I learned to deal with it. So yeah, I just find it hilarious now when I have to call them, because you could just see them. I'm not answering this one. I'm on, you take it. It's him. He's going to gloat again. Well, see, I've kicked your ass again in the tribunal.
Yeah. Looking at this data here, it's yeah, you have it's a journey of the conscious there to some extent, isn't it? How you deal and cope, and some people, you get hurdles and barriers, and if you're not meant to proceed, your barriers and your hurdles will come down and you will not proceed, and you'll figure of eight, or you'll just loop and continue to just burn out, you know, instead of forming some direction, I don't know, logical progression pathway, learning curve of. So I've tried to demonstrate certain aspects of things, and you know, did record it with my video logs and what we're doing here, and you know, the testimonies from the scribes themselves, initiates, and you know, the publications, and like you, the unison, dare I use that word, of consciousness, and the adaptation of certain things, you know, and how we stop and maybe take 3 steps backwards, or maybe 10 if necessary, and then begin again. So it's not futile to make a mistake. It's probably futile to believe you will never make a mistake and you're perfect, because that's not true, and it can't be for anyone. So we have adapted, and you know, there has been a lot more done for a lot less. They must be scratching their heads at some offices thinking, what will it take for them to, you know, completely lose it? But yeah, credit to everyone for, you know, all the carers out there that look after them, a family member, and obviously you grafting yourself, or you might be a full-time carer and you're not grafting, but there's a lot of even that, you know, full-time care is a hard job. You got to look after another spirit, soul, family member for the rest of their life, full-time. You know, that sounds easy to say in a sentence, but the practicality of looking after somebody and their needs and their cleanliness and their shopping and desires and whatnot, it's a responsibility. It's being trusted with that duty, and this, you know, waiting for, yeah, it shouldn't be. We should have not systems, but we should have access and ways, you know, of managing and looking after ourselves. But when you put that trust into what is the government now, but then again, there is no government building. They're just ministers and offices and privy councils and buildings, and there actually is no building called the government, or, you know, government HQ. They're just scattered. It's in you see. So, but we've trusted others to represent, and they've failed, and they've embezzled, and they've covered up, and they've offshored it, and then we, the little ones, down below, are the ones that pay the taxes and manage it all, and are the proverbial cannon fodder that are now from weaponized cannons into, because the great wars and stuff are gone, it's now bars of gold, and we're being squeezed for our little gold sweat beadlets that they're collecting up, as unfortunate as it is. And how dare we, the subjects of the monarch there, you know, say anything, because you know, in olden days he was burnt at the cross, and witches and sunk, and, you know, heresy, heretics, and, you know, blasphemy. Oh my days. So you know,
yeah, Albert, have you seen that Bud's post I put in Berkshire something? I think it's Disability Services, about the it's either the High Court or the Appeal Court ruling that the words must, may, and something else have all been deemed illegal. So anybody that got one of those letters that's used one of those words saying you must attend this, or your benefits will be affected and all that, they've all been found, and especially obviously if they got sanctioned for not going or anything like that, they're all illegal. It's a ruling. So they've all been deemed illegal. So actually, that would go back to a lot of people. Anybody that got sanctioned by not attending or whatever, with those words in it. I'll repost it. I did put it in SPLs. I did find it in my stuff earlier. But yeah, very interesting. There's lots of things seem to be happening. It does seem all of a sudden that the judiciary, shall we say, in certain areas seem to be helping rather than the betting at the moment. Very interesting time.
Yeah, I heard on the reporting of the wireless that there was a lot going off with reforms and secretaries and cabinets and ministers and shadows and policies, and how much they spend on what was that now? Somebody's a link on the .com. How much they spend on defending claims is roughly about £100 million every year, loosely, you know. And wow, it's just astronomical.
And yeah, they're spending something like 100, I think it was 120 odd a couple of years ago, possibly up to like 150 million. And they're you know, it's not outweighing the money they're saving. It's the exact opposite. Because I mean, it's up to something like 60% or more now, decisions being overturned. But if you look at it like that, it's just book fiddling, isn't it? Oh look, we've got X amount of people. Yeah, we know we're going to have to give it back to them in a few months, but right now the books look really good because we've got 50,000 of them off. It's all fiddling numbers, but it is ridiculous now. As I say, all the stuff we're using now proves that their actions are malicious. And say, I told you what it did to me: a 3-week process, 5 months. And several notices sent, all recorded delivery in that time, just blanked. This is how they, you know, I'm not saying they treat everybody like that, but they certainly do it to me. The first time round, they didn't send me out the DPA stuff in time. It's meant to come in 40 days at that point. And it took them, I tell you what, it arrived on day 79. So I had to adjourn it. So that 3 months I could have got my money back on turned into over 6 months. And they do it on purpose. Starve you out. It's the same now. I won my thing the other week. I know that they can just go, okay, following day they could literally go, right, put him back on, that's the back pay, press the machine does it all. And it could have been done there and then. But here we are, 3 weeks down the line, nothing.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. It should be instant. They can high frequency stock trade with Bond and Wall Street and high frequency trading and send monies, amounts, credits in seconds. So
24 hours a day.
Gosh, you know what I mean. We've got the technology here. I need to correct something. It was the Tories that spent 108.1 million of taxpayers' money. 12th of February 2018, I'm reading this story I found from, and the DWP spent that amount on appeals against disability benefits in 2 years. Figures reveal. Neil Heslop, Chief Executive, Disability Charity Leonard Cheshire, said to spend this amount on admin fighting to uphold flawed decisions that shouldn't even have been made in the first place is absolutely staggering. Boom. Well said, Neil.
I put that other post up, didn't I, the other day about I think it's one of the tribunal's chief going, this is ridiculous. What they're sending to us, if this was in a proper court, it would never even get in there. This is how ridiculous these decisions that are being made are. You know, that's what happens when it's given over to private business, isn't it? It's exactly what happens.
Yeah, and I say this one with respect and sadness, but 8th of December 2017, compensation, another person with terminal cancer passes away after being found fit to work by DWP. A man with terminal cancer died before he was able to appeal a ruling by the Department for Work and Pensions, which stated, are you all right there, Kev? Are you trying to start a motor, Kev? Are you trying to start a boat,
Yeah,
Kev?
I just started starting up my glass of ice. Sorry, I forgot. I always forget.
Wow. Sorry. I say that. Where are we going? A man with cancer died before he was able to appeal a ruling by the DWP, which stated he was fit for work. Philip Balderson, 46, had been working at a hotel in the Lake District, but was diagnosed with esophageal cancer in 2013. He also had sciatic arthritis, and a number of mental health problems, including anxiety and OCD. My heart goes out to fellas and sisters, kings, queens, princesses, princes that need help, that are genuinely knackered, and somebody says, you can press a button, you can clearly do a job. No, because that's not even someone that could even be mixed up with a scrounger, some scum. They're just scumbags. No, it's not even scum. It's actually really ill. Folk are really ill, and I just thought it's not just Dave and Kev out here to try and get some reaction from folk. This is we are a bit worried, aren't we, Kev? We're seeing.
This is when Graham and I first did this. It was sort of off the back of hearing about these ridiculous decisions, and people dying and committing suicide and, becoming homeless even through all the. So, it was always set out to free everybody. And listen, nobody's got a problem if you're being assessed by the right people. No one would have a problem. But they're asking you to hand your health down to an idiot. It's not even qualified. You don't have to do that. It's madness. And I say people are dying, and and even if you do go along with these people, they're going to shaft you anyway. They're all on bonuses. Everybody's getting a bonus,
including the independent case examiner, the ICE, who investigate alleged wrongdoing by the government department. They also are something that look at. I've never heard of ICE, Kev, but that's just come across on my eye now.
They might be hearing from me soon.
ICE, yeah, remember that then. And the Citizens Advice Bureau sent a letter to the DWP regarding someone's health issues on 6 days before her death, but it failed to act on it until whenever the DWP, it's got some, it's because it's such a big department, and it's got such, if you open a company and you wanted to run a company and you had all these customers like what the DWP and all these, Maximus, Atos and everybody's got, then you couldn't afford to hand write and tailor make each individual contract to all of those hundreds of thousands, if not millions of customers, could you? Because it wouldn't be actually physically possible to sit down every customer one by one and then tailor make a contract. So they've applied the generic rules of the, and that's where we're all falling down, because these generic rules, man isn't generic, and it's why not just have a universal basic income, or as we've put out before, universal whatever it is credit system, where if you need something and you've got the right digits and thumbprint and autograph, whatever you want, then you get access to it, and then we do the checking afterwards. It's a bit like what we're doing at the minute is shooting first and then asking questions later, but that's no good, is it? Because there is no later for anybody.
No.
Oh. Yeah, sorry.
That's the thing. We were noticing if you go along with the process, 9 times out of 10 they're going to fuck you anyway. Excuse for want of a better term, but it is a true term. It's exactly what they're going to do. So if you go along with it, so you might. Our thing has been, well, you might as well fight it from the beginning, from the very off. Because all that you do if you go along with the process, you're just going to add 3 months onto your nightmare before they fuck you up. Let's just go in straight away and go, who are you?
I'm going to put this website where I'm getting this data from into the chat. A woman whose disabled daughter, I'll just say respect and honour to the family sharing this, and sorry for what that has transpired here, of which I'm about to read. But a lady whose disabled daughter killed herself after her benefit payments were stopped has called for officials to be prosecuted over their failings. Jodie Whiting, 42, of Stockton, Teesside, took her life in 2017 when her payments were halted because she missed a capability assessment. An independent inquiry has found that the Department for Work and Pensions has breached its own rules, and it has been ordered to apologise and pay £10,000 compensation. The DWP said it accepted the findings. Miss Whiting, a mother of 9, suffered multiple physical and mental health issues, including curvature of the spine and a brain cyst, and took 23 tablets every day. She was no, standard case here. It was quite complex, that in itself. And she was suffering from pneumonia when she missed her assessment, but then it was ruled fit to work and had her employment and support allowance halted. Her mother, Joy Dove of Norton, said she was shocked by the extent of the failings outlined in a letter from the Independent Case Examiner, ICE. All right, Kev, that's them again.
Yeah.
She said it was awful. There was no need. They pushed her to it. How can you cut someone's money off without even seeing them? That's the next thing. Yeah, this is the AI algorithm business, the heartlessness. It's a mathematical equation. If the boxes aren't ticked, you don't get to live. What? I don't think so. A petition calling for an independent inquiry into the debt. Yeah, and people are fighting on in their own respective way that they know of. So I'm not going to condemn or criticize anybody petitioning. Well done for making some stinking noise about all of this, because these aren't just like John went for an assessment and John of the Middleton clan, was all right, an everyday 25-year-old stable man, and just basically, he was taking the piss a bit, and they said, you're all right for work, you. And it's not, these aren't stories that we're hearing and finding, and the delays in the time, like last year at Crimbo, you helped some scribes, Kevin, sorted some stuff out, but it was like, again, people in wheelchairs and stuff, not able-bodied, less abled, and genuine cases, and for some reason, mathematical programs deny money, or offices just don't allow. And if you've got something wrong with you, which is incurable, and you go through the system and the circuit once and you provide all of that, why is it every so many months or years you then have to reprove that you're still going to die, or that you're never going to get better? What's all that about?
Well, look, this is how this is how the people looking at your medical thing are fucking idiots. Because if you have got, like anybody looking at mine with an ounce of medical knowledge would know 3 of my things are absolutely degenerative and I'm totally fucked. And none of it's going to get better. It's only going to get worse. Fact.
There's the link. I don't know if I put it in. That's all.
So that's why That's why these people are idiots. And they go, oh yeah, he needs assessing. Oh yeah, of course I do.
Disabled. Well, what I mean is, it doesn't have to be terminal, but say you're never going to get like multiple sclerosis or something. You're definitely not going to get healed from that. But yet you have to prove it should be a one deal thing where you go, right, you get this card, and if anything changes, like a miracle from God, or whatever, then you let us know. If not, that's good until he's 65. See you later, mate. Done. Finished. Next. Because that can be done and dealt with, and it's just insane. I'm not saying that we've got the fixes for all of the systems, but clearly they are running it into the ground for a reason, to then overhaul it again with their friends and other such systems, maybe, or a different credit system, or trying to, I don't know. It's just a simple thing though. Civilization is not responding well to this technology. We have all this fantastic tech.
Hang on. I want to stop you there. No, as far as the people that control this tech concerned, we're operating it brilliantly.
It's amazing, isn't it? So I'm sorry. We're just
walking into the trap.
We're arrested development in some things, and you haven't, got anything. Look, the ones that say, oh yeah, well these lot just need to get a job. Well, when you work out the job that you're in and the credits that you're getting, we're all bankrupt and it's promises, and if you've been lied to, then you realise that when you find a different path and why you've been lied to and the setup around it, then you find out the codes and the commandments and so forth. You see, there is a kingdom of heaven there, and different ways with regards to the liability and debt and credit. That's all we've found out about. It's that these guys have kindly taken to another level, as you are seeing. Well, they've taken it offshore, to be fair, sorry, but they've taken it to another level, and they're now culling the indigenous man, honourable, less abled men, weak and vulnerable are going first. I'm sorry, but I'll be the first to say it, that they're culling our weak and vulnerable family members first, because they're easy pickings and their bonds are open. That's what I think. That's what I think, and that's evil. That is just such an evil thing to do. Only in the wild does that happen, when the hunter comes across the newborn that can't run away quick enough, or an injured one that's got a broken leg, and so because you're weak, and you get eaten, don't you? So that's the only other time. We are not supposed to be animals, though. So when you come into this divine kingdom of righteousness and everything, and you bring business into it, it eats away, and like, it's going to pop soon. Obviously, the creation of money, as we've found it, and credit. There's two types. There's the paper-based, with the bank and the paper format, and how much percent of all money in England is paper, and how much is digital credits on a screen. How much has been created by the banks, and how much have they increased the capitalisation and the market growth of money by creating digital zeros? Who's regulating this and managing? God Lord, I dread to think. And then you've got, if it costs 8p to print a note, each note costs 8p, 5, 10, 20 and 50, and then the banks give that to government, and the government only have to pay that 8p, but yet it's worth that much money on the face value of it. Then when they come and circulate it, they're on a winner chicken dinner. They're getting quite a lucrative deal out of this, I've come to find. And then we have to fight amongst all of this paper base, but yet they don't pay any taxes because they do business offshore, and they've got everything in a trust. I don't, and you can't get, you could got to go to a food bank, and it's absolutely disgusting, the trickery. And if it was known on a common level, I do believe everyone would be out smashing stuff up. I really would. If we could explain it and bring it in a swift hour, I think that it would. When the penny dropped, there'd be a God Almighty thunder from the men and the women out of disgust of the.
If they really realised what's going on, it would be riots. It's true.
Yeah.
But half of them don't even listen to it.
Well, yeah, it's not.
There's the street song, isn't it?
It's the debt, though. Everybody's getting liabilities now. The accounts, and if you don't have money, January is the hardest month for just about everybody, isn't it? It's the longest, hardest, coldest. You need all your electric, you need your gas, you need your travel. You need so much energy in January after such a dump in December. Well, most financial dump that you do, and spend exhaust all the pennies, and then have to scrimp all that time till the end of Jan for payday. It's like a marathon that never ends. Go on.
Yeah, well, I've been a bit lucky, really. I haven't had money to burn at all, but I haven't had to worry about anything, because there's certain commitments out of here each month.
Yeah.
And of course I had mine cut off April or something last year. So I've managed to get by without borrowing a penny, which is nice. So I'm just waiting for them to square me up now. But as I say, that's clear. As I say, I had a conversation with at the tribunal after it was done with the judge, and I asked her straight up, when do you send this decision to the DWP? She said, it'd be with them today. It's always sent on the same day. So, as I say, I thought I'd give him a few days.
You're not likely to top. You're not being disrespectful, but I know you. I can know what to say and what not. But you're not likely to top yourself. You've got a loving, lady there, and you've got a support network. Yeah, and you're not on your own. But like the ones that we find in stories. With all love and respect to you, Kev, but there's others out there that I don't. And that's what I'm saying. Then where do they go when the government says no, and they've got nobody, or they have got family? Sorry. flock, and they've got an ego, and the two, well, not an ego, they're just proud. Maybe it's not an ego, it's just pride. I can't tell my dad I failed or my wife or anything. They'll probably, and things will happen. So it's a rocky road. Sometimes we cover it up with drink and drugs and self-medication, or going to the doctor, and the doctor, oh yes, you're clearly fatigued, and then you might start crying like I did. I went to the doctor and I'm telling him about my family and the job I'd got, and working nights and sleeping and starting to drink alcohol. And I told the doctor I'm worried about myself and I've got a lot of stress on young middle 20s and family. Enough said. And two boys, man, looking after my two boys and my woman. I'm working a night shift. Of course I was mash up, and I was trying to keep it on the straight and narrow, as you do, honourability. And he says, yeah, you need to take these. And they were called Trazodone painkiller. Trazodone. And see what I mean? It's the things, I got more like a walking Pims. And I took these tablets, went to bed, as I had directed, and I didn't wake up till dinner time the next day, and I'd slept for like 30 something hours. I was like, well, they're not normal, surely. And make an appointment, and 3 days later you can get in. That's another thing with the GP. 3 days later, I need to see GP later. Oh, what's up with you? He's given me these tablets and they've made me sleep for too long. See you on Thursday. But it's Monday. Yeah, we've got a space Thursday, but that's a joke. Should be same day. And I went back to see him, and he says, oh, well, you just got to keep taking them and you'll get used to them. And I nearly lost my job just by, it was even my sanity. So what I'm saying to you, bottom line, funny story or not, you can either medicate yourself and be a zombie and lose your job, and then lose your missus and your family because you got no job and money, or you can not take them and medicate with ganja and alcohol and then take your risk, or not do that, ganja and alcohol, not take the neurotoxins from the doctor, and probably end up losing it at some point in a momentary road rage blow up and doing a lot of damage that was pent up. And so either which way, the house wins on us. And that's why, again, I'm a little bit concerned. Sorry to go into that much, but the tablets they give, they are strong. That's going back 10 years. It might not give that drug now, but my experience. What did I do? I turned to weed, everybody. I chucked that shit in the bin. I went, I took it again, and I woke up and I felt like I felt like I'd been at a part. And I've DJ'd, remember, I've been Joe Mangled, spangled many a time, like a monkey, all right, embarrassingly. But that stuff, that's like nothing, no come down hangover next day feeling I've ever felt. It was like you'd had 20 million Stellas the day before, had a kip, and you woke up like, you can imagine the kind of hangover you'd have with all that Stella in you. But it was just incredible, Kev, honestly. And so, I'd found the weed, and I had a relationship with that, self-medicating, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I'd never say the damage that stuff did to me, because it hides everything. The pharmaceuticals, the morph and the OxyContin, which is like 2, 3, 4 times as strong as morphine. I mean, that just masks everything. And that's when I knew I had to get off of that. And then it came off of that. Of course, everything else went, oh, by the way, hello, this is your heart. I'm buggered. Lungs buggered. But of course, all the time you're on that stuff, you...
C60, what was that? Some scribe said, didn't they, when Matthew was on and that? Sorry to butt in, but there's things we can take now that are just heralded miracle liquids and toxins and minerals. The silver water, strongest antibiotic known to man, made by David in his kitchen and others using household spares and old leftover silver. And then we've got C60, carbon 60, £60 for a bottle. Then we've got monatomic gold. I feel like some kind of quiz show here, but there's millions, not millions, but many more things that we've got now that we can treat ourselves with, and technologies and Raymond Rife machines and frequencies. Now we're on
high carb and H2O2.
We don't need that stuff. What they do to us is give us synthesized products that basically retard the consciousness, that just stop us from having a resistance within the psyche, is what I've found. And I've had amitriptyline, lots of different trials I did go back to the doctor and I did try three other types of mind drugs, antidepressants. And then I said to him, I feel like a bit like a guinea pig here, where I just keep coming in and you keep writing bits of paper down and you don't really know what to give me or what to work. And one of them he gave me heart palpitations within the first day of it kicking in. I went back and, like, when your doctor gives you something and you've waited 3 days to see him, you can't be arsed with all that rigmarole. And if you miss it, you forget because it's 3 days in the future and you've got such a busy life. If you dare forget your appointment, that can be a right little hornet's nest with a stuck-up reception. Just Lord, woman, honestly, I know I'm not alone. And you get back down there after all of this, and when you're depressed and you can't be asked, that in itself is a bloody battle. And you go back and you say, "Now then, pal, everything's all right," but it's giving me. And then you look on. Wait, hold up, rewind. When he gives you the tablets and you open up that little bit of paper, that they fold so tiny, as tiny as a little finger thumbnail. But when you open it, it's as big as the Independent Financial Times newspaper, and it's got all the side effects on it. I'm like, hang on a minute. It's got depression. It's got heart palpitations. It's got dry mouth. It's got urinary tract infection. I'm trying to take this to feel better, and I'm reading this thinking, what, and honestly, I don't envisage anybody that's been down these routes, Kev, because it's mid-20s then, mid-25s, and I believe that man could help me and that he cared, and he didn't care, and he couldn't help me, is what I found out. My own story. I yield.
Yes, it happens. Got in there a little bit of DMT.
Not from the GP. Good Lord, what doctor have you got? I'm going back to the doctor. Come on, here's the name. Not over the tube though, please, because I'll never get an appointment. He'll be the most famous doctor in Peckham or wherever you live. I forget now. I won't say. Peckham will do.
Peckham. Lovely part of town.
Thank God you didn't call me Rodders. You missed it. I've done it to myself. Plonker. Let's go to the room. What we got? I've given some numbers. I don't want to go into I'll just skipped across it. Again, if anybody's been affected by horrific Department for Wanky People's administrative, fuck ups, then we're sorry. And if anyone's no longer with us from your fam, then we can't do anything. We're not magicians, but we'd like to extend our love and sincere, somewhat extended anger and sympathy. That's why we're here, aren't we, Kevin? Why would you do what you've done and what you continue to do with Graham as well? We're big G, remember G, man. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
good old Graham. We're going to see him tomorrow. We'll pop over and see him tomorrow. Be nice, but yeah, it's all still going on. I think he attended an assessment with a friend. What day is it? What is it?
Monday. Today's Monday. It's Dynamo Day.
I think it was today. So I did speak to him earlier, but they sort of went and said, well, we sent a letter on so-and-so, so-and-so. So they managed to get a signature, say they had attended, but they didn't actually do the assessment because the manager there, found out everything they said was true, and there was documents and paperwork had been served and nobody responded. So accepted so far, but we'll see what happens with that one.
All right, I'm conscious of time and I haven't mentioned the last topic, and that's it then. Mentalization, mentalists out there, if you are a mentalist and you practice the mental side of life, I'm not talking about Darren Brown magicians or Jedi mind tricks. These are not the Jedis you are looking for, Sith Overlord. No, what I mean is, now for me on video one, on this video log and exploratory soul journey that I'm on, you will see anger, and you will see even the first 100 videos. You will see a character in me, the bull, the Taurus, the energy, the passion of the Christ. My cup runneth over. It's still the same. I'm still the same old G, but I'm in a different paradigm now. So I didn't know And it was Greg that brought me this after it re-brought it to me after I'd learned it and forgotten when I was into Kung Fu back when I was mid-25s actually. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Shaolin, oh my days, too many to mention. Operation Condor, and proper films, Kev. Proper films, yes, so yeah. Early night, early morning Kung Fu sessions with the boys. Wow, I do remember them. And anyway, I wasn't able to mentalize. I was just always getting, so if it was anger, happiness, frustration, anxiety, like these with the notes now, mentalization, we don't able to cognize is one thing, dissonance and resonance, and here comes the science bit. The mind is a powerful tool, and it can have a firewall put into it if you want with your actions. And instead of, Smithy put it quite well when he used to preach about I respond, I don't react, and I reply and respond and not give a reaction. And I says, I know what you mean here, because I'm learning about mindfulness from G and others, and the Buddhist type Shaolin, Eastern energy mind control. And if you get something through the post or a text or an email, or just one of your mates sets you up and you can't handle it, and you act how you feel, you've got a flaw. Because, not me judging you, but in the grand scheme of things, if you can now process data and then think, oh, I'm feeling it, this is going to make me, that's what we need to be doing. Because without that key step, we then end up in like a judge, a courtroom, and he does something, and he, bangs the clavicle. No, it's not a clavicle. Wow, that's on one of my video. A gavel, and he starts going and attacking you verbally, and you lose your train of thought, and you get vexated and angry, and you insult damage and whatnot, and then next thing you know, you're being handcuffed and dragged, and you're like, how did that happen? So this is in life. There are ones out there that go fishing for ones that just react and blow up. Albert, I've done some work with you, I've done some work with myself, and I've done some work with others. And indigos, wow, you're like me. If you got never mind ADHD, oh yes, these poor children that had too much attention when they was little, and now they've grown up and they crave that attention and think they're special. That's what some channels are saying about ones like us that have energy, care, not think we're different, but know that we are not of this part of this realm. We're of this world, but we're not the same cuttings. And yeah, it's hard for us, for others that speak their mind and don't butter around the edges. There's an art to conversation, there really is. And when you go to a courtroom, there's an even more of an art, isn't there, Kev? So letters, notices, stops, punctuation, quantum pass, syntax, grammar. I yield. Wow.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, man.
I taught their language.
So a lot of viewers and a lot of scribes, I've spoken to a lot of you. If I've spoken to you, give me a word up on the comments, because I've spoken to maybe 50 to 100 in the last year that have come through, and I do answer emails, and we do chat and exchange, fly on the wall. P900s, and I don't know if it's Jerry on here, Martin Ryder that I saw earlier. There's about 5 on this chat that I've spoken to, and you are all delights of energy, consciousness, wisdom. It's just like having a chat with myself. It's brilliant. Not that you're all me and I'm you, but we are in some ways atomically. But so I know that you will have similar and thoughts and encounters along the way of dealing with it all, light workers, crystals, rainbows, and general warriors of truth.
Peckham spring water.
What's that, Rodders?
Peckham spring water.
Does somebody want some water? Water or water? Water for your daughter. Yeah, that was all right. Fools and horses. That's the humour part with you. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Quinn just put in there. Does time seem to be going really fast for anyone? Well, let me tell you, mate. My experience is the older you get, the faster it goes. I'm telling you.
Yes, Quinn, it does. For me, it's going
mental. It's
going very fast. I am Turbo Dave is in the house. Yeah.
I've got a lot of respect for why the clock always seemed to drag when I was at school. Now I can appreciate that now, which I hated, because now it's just flying by. It's fucking mental.
I've had a little mental battle with time twice now, more than twice. But in this normal paradigm, when I've travelled from here and I've gone to Hungary with Anne Marie, there's no boss, there's no anything except me and her, and the Iron Horse. And when you're travelling, you govern yourself, and you're on everything. Safety is paramount. But I have got energy, fam, all right, as you know, and I drink a lot of strong coffee. So when I realised that I'd been on the road for 6.5 hours straight travelling, yeah, from like darkness into the morning, and it got to about, I don't know, 11 o'clock in Eastern, just gone from Eastern into West Germany, and I'd like not kipped. And I went to Anne-Marie, I think I've been awake for about 40 some hours, and I've just driven to 6.5 hours straight. I've watched the clock go round, nearly at this point, travelling wise, probably 12 something hours, because we've come from England and been on the ferry and had a couple of hour crossing and a bit of a rest there. But I couldn't sleep on the ferry because I've got a fear of sailing. Don't laugh at me, but I don't think I'll be able to make it in the sea. It's too cold and choppy, and I haven't got the stamina to do all of that, distance. And I've tried swimming, and it's just too hard. And for a smoker, I don't want to, be the. But so I stayed awake on the ferry, and then I realised I was looking at the road, and it was all just getting blurry, and I was like, whoa. So the clock, though, because I went and had a kip, and I knew that I needed one, and safety is paramount for all. And we had a kip, and then you get back in and you start off again after like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you crack back on, and it's like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it comes to tea time again and night time, and the 30 hours, 27 hours that you travel. You have about 4 hours kip, and the rest you're just watching miles, kilometres, speed, and all. It's intense, and you become, I don't know how to explain it, but you appreciate all of the day. You appreciate all of the different parts of the day and the different conditions. The different drivers don't really matter, but the time and the safety is power. You're on the wrong side of the road. You're going through all these new motorways, countries, roundabouts, traffic light systems, and crazy, things. That just insane. It really is. So I've got to know time in that respect, and tiredness and time, and it's you each to their own. We're very strong. I don't know how I got into that bit for you, but I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Midnight Gardener. Here we go. Didn't the Schumann resonance change recently? Didn't it? I don't know, Midnight. It may have done. What if it did? I'm interested in it. I don't know about that. We'll say hello to the new scribes, watchers, viewers. Jerry, John, I see Quinn, Atom. You seen any questions or anything, Kev?
I was just I just covered that with Quinn, didn't I? Yeah. Quinn says the pulse of the earth has sped up. We're trying to catch up as we are meant to run at the same or similar speed. This is driving folk mental. Appears to be helping me out, if that's one of the causes.
Yeah, just listening. I've scanned the room. I've been up and down, and they're just chatting and listening. There's nobody, thank goodness. There's nobody with a flare, and there's nobody with a harrowing story. I'll check my emails while you have a look at.
I saw one. Wasn't there a guy? I saw one the other day. DWP gave this guy, I think it was Pip again, naught for mobility. I think he's autistic and he's deaf and dumb.
Right.
And being awarded naught.
No way.
So can't drive, and I think blind as well. So it was like, it's just ridiculous. Okay, brilliant. So how do they even get to a job? It's getting crazy now, mate. Honestly, it's beyond the joke. These people need to be taken, some liability. They can't keep getting away with this. They're not protected.
The triangle first draft. I can read it. Oh, G-Star must be listening. Or we are connected on well, I know we're connected, but let's go. Open. I'll tell you what the positions were now, effectively. But no, not to take away from what you were saying, Kev. I just got excited then. Sorry.
Don't apologise, mate. It's all good.
The triangle. Yeah.
I forgot what I was saying anyway.
Transforming and healing our psychological state from the unhealthy, abusive relationship, claiming our new status as the creator and creditor. And you have a challenger and a coach and a sovereign in three of the each of the three positions. The empowerment dynamic, passion-based, outcome-focused creditor. The creators at the top with sovereign underneath. Then we've got challenger on the left where the beneficiary would be, and coach on the right where you'd have trustee. And then underneath we've got, it's like a pyramid with a diamond shape, but it's like two triangles, one above the other, inverted, so it looks like a dot. And then underneath you've got a persecutor, a rescuer, and a victim, and that's called the drama triangle. Karpman's, that's who it is, Karpman, Karpmans. I'm on about Cayman earlier. We got Karpman's as well, but yeah, drama triangle, and that's an anxiety-based, problem-focused debtor victim. David's Emerald, TED, the empowerment dynamic, TED, TED, the empowerment dynamic triangle provides an alternative to the Karpman. So we got a bit to bring, and we're going to look at victims, all right, because that's what benefit claimants are. And I'm sorry to go cutthroat, but that's what we like to do because it's the only way to get the information across. There's no point buttering up around the edges that man's leaving suicide notes because they don't want to move a house or pay no more money because of a bedroom tax. It's crap like this and things that we're finding. So we have a bleak perspective on life. I don't take any pleasure in it, and it's not to glorify, because it's just to put it how it is, and how it is pretty bloody, and it's bloody awful, it's bloody sad, it's a bloody shame, do you know what I mean? It's a bloody massacre, legally, and we're here in law, aren't we, Kev, is all I can say, and that's our saving grace.
Yeah, well, yeah. Mostly it saves.
Yeah, we have the empowerment dynamic, which is TED. We're going to use this, and we're going to turn into a coach, counsellors. We can have a weekly. If anybody on the replay does struggle or has a mantra-based system of positivity, let's go for the other side of it as well. If you're in the shit and you need help, or if you've been in the shit and you've got help and you'd like to mention, I have an email somewhere that I'm going to collect it all up more detailed, and we'll do it again on another cast. But mindfulness and mentalizing emotions is where I'd like to start. That's the basics. Control of the energy, control of the structure of the sentences and everything. That's coming from me. I'm nowhere near perfect, but I've experienced in it. Kev's got mental dexterity, emotional, we've got some chemical abuse for myself and him when we was party heads, which is, as I've said, no embarrassment there. Cannabis, nicotine, sugar, we'll go with the normal alcohol, yes, caffeine. These are the ones that they get you on first, and then obviously after that you self-medicate as you go along. Magic mushrooms, that was a who. Never giggled so much.
There's not much I can't talk about in that realm.
But then obviously,
all the way from class C to A.
Yeah, and I've also been at the worst end where I wanted the worst end where I wanted to die because I was separated from my property, and the house that I lived in with the mum and the sired assets at the time, my two boys and the lady. When I went into the property that was no longer with them because we'd split up as a family unit, I got a council property, the exact same layout, design and build as the one I'd left, that was fully furnished with all of the family bits in. So I walked into a property that resembled an empty property of where I just lived, and I was like, whoa, I've got nothing, you know, and I'd got no writ at the time to see my sons, and I was going to court to battle, and I had no anything, a shirt on my back and a few bits, and I had some bits. I had some things. It wasn't that bad. It was an amicable kind of split and whatnot. So, but I didn't have everything I needed, and it was just daunting on me how far I'd got to go, how alone I was, how indefensible I was in some ways with what was being said about me by a vexated partner. That it was a court battle of now aggression and hostility because mediation had failed, and we'd gone to the courts and we'd got barristers, and we was in the Crown facility. It was a full-on 2-year hoops and thingies. So at the end of that 2 years, I just couldn't be arsed, if I'm honest. I couldn't, like most say, I had no energy. And all these thoughts went, and I walked out onto a balcony. I was on the second floor property of a Sheffield masonette in wherever it was now, I forget the place. It doesn't matter. And I walked out there and I looked at the concrete floor and I thought, that's going to hurt, that is. That's knowing you, Dave, you're going to do it and you're going to live and you're going to feel that pain and you can't, and I thought of all these other ways of quicknesses, and you know what, I was a coward. I couldn't even. I thought I'd rather go and face the black demon in the court and have my chances there. Once I'd got to know myself and I'd contemplated and I'd thought of all the ways that you could possibly exit and all of the ecstasy tablets and DJing like conundrums and concoctions that I could make, and I thought, you've got a high tolerance, Dave. You'd probably end up living through it and then end up wanting to live but end up dying because you've cooked your insides with the concoction you've just took. So I ended up having a real serious chat for a week about this subject, and then after that chat I never went back there again. So I'm kind of lucky in that respect, but I was troubled seriously, and it was because of a situation that if there had been an independent form of support of a loving, conscious, neutral, what do we call them, bilateral, disclosed agreement, I'd have took it. I'd have ripped their hand off. I would have, because I needed it, and there was nothing. I yield. Sorry. If anyone's going to share anything, just know that I'll share with you some intricate personal areas of my life, which has made me who I am. And if I'm going to come on Tube and say, yeah, I can have a chat with you because I know some stuff, then you need to know where I've been and how I've come through it. Not for rewards, not for any kind of anything, but just so if others want to send a private email, communicate or offer something, then that's what it's all about, because some of us, I dare say, have been down that same road. Or are on it. If you're on it now, then, danger. Because you can't get too
done a lot of it, mate.
Sorry, Kim,
Yeah, done a lot of it. Nearly everything. I've had to go on. Pretty much.
When it's related to leisure, partying and whatnot, that's one thing. But when you're in an escapism because you can't face your that's a whole different road. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing I can't talk about. No,
to be honest, I've had experience of it all, so that's where I'm coming from with all that side of things.
Go on, yeah. No, that's good. It's good clarity is what we need. So yeah,
just so people know. I mean, as I say, all the class A's, all the class B's.
Oh, it's the periodic
table. Lots of class C's.
We got bronchium and strontium and anthium and ionium and Kev's had it all.
We've had a go. Yeah. I don't regret any of it, but at least I can talk, somebody's not many things, somebody say, oh, I'm doing X, Y, Z, and I go, oh, I've never tried that. That'd be pretty unlikely to happen. So, just, from experience, and yeah, I've had to stay away from certain things because of how nice I found them, so I knew it was best to keep away from them.
Yeah, tolerances and
I really like that. So I'll not go I not get near that too much.
You remind me of the Bill Hicks now that I saw when I was a late teen, and he was on about drugs, and the very old one of the mid 90s, early 90s Bill Hicks, late 80s,
Yeah.
that I saw much delayed afterwards because it wasn't my time then. But when I saw it, and he says, yeah, drugs are good. Drugs are fucking good. And he says, I took some drugs and this, that, the, and I won't do it word for word. You will mostly know it, I know. And he says, I stayed in. I didn't harm anybody. I didn't rob anybody. Blah, blah, blah. And I had a fucking good time. I'd do it again.
He was well ahead of his time, and he was bigger here than he was back in the States.
But you just reminded me when I was listening to you then, it was just like, so, but then, all right, where do we draw the line, whether it's drugs in the water, Food and Drug Administration? Do you trust these chemical mixing, game playing buffoons to mix chemicals and drugs in your food? Do you think, when did you vote? Anybody? What nation requested by electoral or non-electoral, unilateral agreement to say, yeah, I think it's about time we put drugs in food? What man? Who was it? Come on, there we go. A bit like Jesus. Who was it? Where was he? Give me some evidence. Who said water should have fluoride and neurotoxins in there? Who said sugar, which is, and people argue with me, like darker skinned brothers say, Dave, sugar's really not a drug, is it? I'm like, you really need to know. If you have too much sugar, it will kill you. And if something kills you, it changes your body's physiological, metaphysical, all of this, chemistry, biochemistry. It will kill you. Something that kills you is a mortality. That means it's a drug because it affects you. You can eat grass or cress by the ton and it will do nothing. So it's not a drug. You can have liquids by the whatever, and it will do nothing. So they're not drugs. It's only... So this is a shock to people, Kev, that we have in a tin of baked beans 15 sugars, so many preservatives, this, that, the other, the packaging that it's in, the plastics, the way that we cook it, the way that we eat, and the poisons we put in ourselves. So
think about the soft drinks. They're the worst. Soft drinks, especially if, one, if you get a diet version, you're getting that bloody aspartame, and they're called, what are they changed to, amino sweet or something, to fool us all.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to be having that stuff, and of course, if you're having the full fat stuff, then it's like half of it's solid sugar, white bloody processed crap as well, the worst one.
They've administratively put key figures and people that used to run different companies, and the way they shift about and what they do to get noticed and how they get noticed and rub shoulders and wink and offer. Well, I won't say that. That's too far. But they get into agreeances, and some of them, I believe, get blackmailed. I've heard. I've been privy to some private hangouts where others have brought me information of documents disclosure, freedom of informations and stuff, and corporate files where they've got evidence, a bit like what Linda Moulton Howe does, but with companies and food. Linda Moulton Howe, she reminds me of Angela Lansbury on acid telling stories from the Twilight Zone. And if you don't know who Linda Moulton Howe is, she's an 50-year-old lady done up like a Dallas bird, talking about pyramids under the Antarctica and stuff like that, with disclosure from deep state military sources. And I seen her the other night done up, and I was like, wow. Angela Lansbury on acid in the Twilight Zone. That's you. Sorry if anyone finds that amusing. But we've got this deep, as others and have said, with regards to agendas, and there's even claims now that these. I know we've gone directly straight off the path and I've tangented, but it's loosely connected to government deep state secret sources and conspiracies of military factions at hand, that they perfected the triangle UFO in the 40s, 50s. This triangle UFO and other such UFOs and unidentified flying, whatever we say now, UFOs wrong. They are doing these experiments and taking man and children. How many children go missing a week? We've got some stark numbers to collect as a fam and examine and start to print, and like what we've done with law, where we've got we've attempted to do, and we're continuing to do with law, and we've got to continuum of. We need to do this with this adoption, missing children, deaths on benefit, and then we can hit them where it hurts and say, me and Kev and the fam will dent this and reduce it by 50% within a year. And we are authorising ourselves, and the people, the mans, the sovereigns, the initiates authorise us, and we obtain the trust, and we run the trust, and others run trusts, and we do it this way. And it sounds bizarre, but when we point out of how many trusts and things that you're in already and that you're using effectively, this is just water off a duck's back. If you're running a business and you're submitting a tax return, 2 million of you are late. Okay, well done. Congratulations. I'm ecstatic about that. You know, the numbers, the end of January, tax return, like you need to be. See a game, a military maneuver. This is the art of war. What should we do after the festive period that will really piss the people off and gutter their bloody self-esteem? I know what we should do in the end of January. Let's get them to submit their tax returns, because that's just what you look forward to doing. And 2 million are late. Oh wow, and etc. It's just insane. Yeah, I'll let you speak, Kev. I'll look at the comments.
Have some fun with them now. There's plenty of sort of SAR requests and stuff you can put in, point them out. You can make them go pretty quiet these days with what we know. Well, it's all out there for everybody to know, but they soon disappear. I like dealing with them. I just did one recently, actually, for my daughter-in-law, and I was speaking to her the other day. I said, anything back? Not a peep. Not a peep. I like those ones, and they just completely disappeared for quite a while. It's going to be. I don't even think they're going to come back. So, be funny. And that was making demands of all of a sudden 2,600 quid or something for late return penalties, and she's not even self-employed. Never has been.
Well, that's a mix-up, isn't it? It's an administrative error.
It's the sort of second time it's come up, apparently. Apparently it was sorted before, so just went in bosh. I mean, they were making threats of enforcement and everything. So went in with harm and distress. And we're coming for $5,000, by the way.
We're talking...
So, yeah,
Go on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say just waiting to hear, but that's even under SAR. I think they're over time now. Anyway, they're not going to respond. Still might put a complaint in and report them to trading standards, and then chase them for $5,000 damages, just to be an arse.
No, it's business, you see. It's not. Well, you say just to be an arse, but when they cut money off and man gives up and puts in the final curtain call and exits the realm, that estate, your final. I'm not being cutthroat and callous here, but the final act, if you die and pass away of natural causes or of aided external forces by yourself, then you leave the estate, as callous as it sounds of me to say, like a military soldier dying in battle, and then the estates get collected up. So you do them a favour. I want you all to stay around. I am not saying to anybody to exit the realm, but what I'm saying is, in the eyes of the state and the bondage system, all of these certificates being created that have done as SPVs and floated and monetarized and bonded and, valued and traded commercially, etc., and profits made, these ones that don't pay the taxes, and then you exit the realm, you're giving them. It's like what we say sometimes about the court-based scenario or the paperwork. When legal claims are made on persons and persons have been paying it, we now know that we've got a data self, to put it simply, and the data self is the one that the claims are on, and the data self is the one that's liable. So much like what did I mention earlier? I found some notes of the thousands of depositors that lost heavily when the BCCI was wound up in the 1991 accusations of money laundering and fraud. The accountants Delotte and Touche alleged that the Bank of England was guilty of misfeasance because it let BCCI operate despite knowing it was being badly run. As I said, this is the story that I read some years ago that is still up there. If they succeeded, the Bank of England could face copycat lawsuits from investors who lost money in other financial scandals, such as money laundering. The BCCI saga still ranks as one of the biggest banking scandals of all time. Bravo Charlie Indigo. BCCI went bust, owing more than 10 billion. That's 18 billion in dollars to the friends clansmen across the pond, to its creditors. The bank had lost money hand over fist from its lending operations, its foreign currency dealings, and its deposit accounts. It was also the bank of choice for money launderers and terrorists. Drug money from Colombia and Panama. I mentioned the Panama Papers earlier. From Colombia and Panama, funding for the Mujahideen in Pakistan and Abu Nidal in the Middle East all flowed through the bank's coffers. But legitimate depositors, including many small Asian businesses, lost blah, 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 because that's just standard news. That's what I mean, blah, blah, blah. So that's from, if you just put into a search engine, BCCI scandal or BCCI bank scandal, you will find what I'm reading about. And all of this stuff gets forgotten, you know, how they're naughty and what they do. And then we are down the line later paying for all of these colossal trillions and billions embezzlement usurped from this great honourable, you know, Britite landmass, if you want to. That's what infuriates me, Kev, that no banker, all right, my bottom line, Dave's bottom line is, and I never call myself Dave, why did I do that? Dave's
sorry,
is Kev needs a cough sweet. There's two bottom lines. Kev needs some medicines, and the other bottom line is, has any banker ever gone to prison? Scribes and Kevin, and one's on the replay, David at splspro.com is my email. I will gladly read out. I can't find many bankers that have been imprisoned for what they do. So why don't they get imprisoned? Why is it that they seem to be protected because they're doing what they're told to do? A bit like Duncan Smith getting a knighthood. Well done, lad, well done. You've really made a dent there. That'll do, lovely. You know, so the bankers, the ones that cause this, that we then, you know, have our unborn lineage born into debt for by non-agreeance. No, they're not even alive, but yet they're in debt. That's not right. That's not something that any society should have in its legacy. You know, our legacy is we are leaving our debt to our unborn assets. No, we're not at all. It's a joke. So I'm sorry to go deep and a bit like weird on with it all, but I need to articulate it into other ways for other scribes. So if you can find me anywhere where there's been where England, especially because I'm Britain, England here, where the United Kingdom Corporation has imprisoned anybody for wrongdoing or embezzling, because as soon as anyone else is caught doing fraud and embezzling, or even just 2 million of us are not returning our taxes on time to there's going to be shit to pay there. Do you think they're going to forget about that? Do you think they're going to let you off? Do you think that they might lock you up if you mismanage your tax returns to a place that isn't really rightfully established as the Inland Revenue, HMRC? Get ready, we're coming for you, boys. We're coming knocking. Oh yes, we are. Bad enough. It's the gloves are off, Sam. The gloves are off. It's a joke.
Yeah, sorry about the coughing. I'm outside. The air's really cold, which doesn't help my COPD, etc. So that's why I'm coughing more than normal. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't know where the mute button is on these headphones, so tough.
It reminded me then, as I was going through the dialogue and going for a walk with everybody about that, And when you have your mixer on your party and you're playing the beats, and then you need to do like voiceovers and speak and do a bit of MC, and then you have it on that setting where it cuts 50%, 75% music down, the mic auto detects when you speak, and then it drops the level of the music playing so they can hear your voice. And as soon as you stop, they do it at the fairground, don't they, at the waltzers? Rave on, hold on kids or you might die. That kind of scenario. When you were coughing, that was like, yeah, we're very professional. Karen said something to Santos on the hangout about something as well. It was well funny, and she goes, I wasn't being funny. I had to like bail her out a bit, but it was funny. Bless her. Digging and all, but not digging and all, but digging and all. Like, hey, that's my job. That is. We've had a good pre. Bottom line, no banker's gone to prison, but if you don't sort your affairs out, you'll go to prison.
Nick Mahey did, didn't he? The one that took down Bearings, he did a bit of buzz.
There's not many. There's a few.
But he was just a scapegoat anyway.
I can't remember all of this, but
I can't remember his surname.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not 100%, but there isn't enough financial sectors and accountants for that. Are very crafty. I think it was Phil Collins and another band back whenever made a point of having offshore tax things and loopholes and these trusts and whatnot. And now, sometime later, when I was a little chabby and didn't know about I know Phil was in the news for something. I remember. I'm sorry, Phil Collins, family clan estate, but I do remember something about naughtiness. And now here we are, some years later, and everybody's being naughty. And the ones that are ignorant. This is the establishment speaking now through me. The ones that are ignorant, the peasantry and the have-nots, they'll never find out about this, and they'll be the ones to pay the taxes, and we'll be shitting on them from a great and we can live like kings, and those are the ones that can pay. And if it ends up that they end up getting a little virus or two, then so be it. And that's exactly how they think of us, because if you can show me some justice, some honourability, some love, compassion, or anything of the above, I would like it in my inbox, or for you to post it and we can go and check it.
Yeah, Jerry, I don't want to tell you this, mate, but not yet.
What's that? What's he saying?
Comment, he said, have I tried the colloidal silver in the nebulizer? I have. I'll tell you what I have. Fun enough, Roger Taylor sent me was one of those salt inhalers, which was that seems quite effective too.
Would CS work in a vaporizer, or would it short the coil? That's an interesting question. I'm listening, Kev, but also the MG's asked an interesting question. I think that the silver would act as a conductive. It would allow, because the more silver that goes in when you're producing that silver water, the quicker the reaction. So it allows the flow of electrons. Good. Yeah, I don't think anything metal. You'd have to see in the vaporizer. Can you get vaporizers that don't have an exposed coil that would heat through a ceramic plate, for instance? I don't know. I'm just ballparking, but moving on. Good, interesting question. Raconteur News says hello, evening all. Hello. Have you tried the colloidal silver in the nebulizer, Kevin? Don't tell me not yet, from Jerry.
So I just told him I didn't want to tell him, but not yet, no. Yeah,
and then we got that from MG underneath, so I'm glad I picked that up.
So I've been off the
London Underground. Hello to London Underground. That looks like a new scribe or
Underground, yeah.
You know them? You seen them? They look new. Thank you.
No, I saw them. I've been reading through.
I need to prove. I have one situation where I need to prove if my landlord has breached my tenancy agreement, because if so, I've been told I can sue them. Yeah, well, you can get legal damages. When you say sue them, yeah, you are. If somebody makes an agreement and it's a legal one, which is what a tenancy will be, it will probably. No, I can bet my bottom dollar it won't be lawful, so it will be legal, and you'll get legal redress, remedy. But then when you make the claim, you need to provide the material facts, or we say the burden of proof, but the facts of the material facts of the matter. If you've got an original copy of the agreement, and then you've got evidence of the breach, whatever that would be, photographs, video, witnesses, etc., then you would need to put it to him and let him know, them, I say him, she, it, they, the person, the legal entity, the corporation, the trust, whatever it is. Wow. Yeah, and then you lay your claim, but you can't just go straight to court, London Underground. You'd have to let them know you're not too happy, and certain things. I don't know what consonant you're on, but it's all basically the same, is it not, Kev?
Yes, absolutely.
He's struggling.
Sorry,
Bless him.
on the wrong moment.
Yeah. Let me see.
Sorry.
MG's bless you. You need to give up smoking. Scribes say, Kev, stop smoking. We want you to live. That's what they say. Jerry had a letter over property tax, but on it stated if you don't get in touch, a 4% levy be applied. So I rang the agent and informed them the levy could not now be charged. Yes, gee. Oh, bless. We get around these channels. Bless. London Underground, what we got to say? Thanks. I heard you on Brian Staveley the other week at London Underground. Now that was from MG. All right then. Yes, London Underground. So if you are in them areas of big city, I dare say that this will be in all big cities: Birmingham, Manchester, Sheffield, Leeds. We've got a massive problem, not only an identity crisis, but we've got a lack of empowerment dynamic. We've got a lack of motivation, a lack of willingness to speak, to open up, to chat. We can't mentalize our emotions. We don't know what language we speak, and we're relying on bumbling idiots to sort out our income credit based benefits, and we're not benefiting and we're losing out, and they are running the show from in the city of London and banking it, embezzling it. Well, not embezzling, it's all legal and lawful, so they're doing it through offshore businesses and trusts that could not be traced if you tried it. So I'm sick of it, and I'll tell you how I think I see it. And the suicides that we're finding, and all of the posts, the links that I've put there, are just a few. There is a lot more. Kev and Graham, I've got instrumentation and we've got testimonials for what we've achieved and moved forward, but it's not enough. This isn't a dig at Kevin Graham, because without them we'd be even further behind. But what we've got is not enough. It's not widespread enough. The technology is not widespread enough. The language, the instrumentation, and these ministers, these right honourable, they are nothing but honourable. I don't see any honour anywhere. That in itself is a slap in the face. The generals and the secretaries, the militia that's at hand, is through the totalitarian tiptoe put this legal format in place, and we need to break free of it honourably, and stop breaking free of it via suicide notes. I yield.
Yeah. Midnight Guard, he said, get on the baits, Kev. Yeah, I'm on them too.
Kev smoked some strong shit.
John said THC oil. Funny you should mention it, doing that too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Anders. We've got from Anders, Argentina, that's actually in Sweden. Little bit misleading there. I believe that's him. Some Gans, G-A-N-T-S, is it, or G-A-N-S? And this is what I need to tell you. He's got some bracelets with some, I think it's GANS, G-A-N-S, gas, nanostate gas. I think I said GANS before, and I believe it's GANS gas, and it's made with copper oxide and zinc oxide. We got some science coming, some indigo science. It's a plasma related GANS, gas in nanostate, GANS. So yeah, thank you to these scientist indigos, crystals. You've got matter. It will come into 4 states. You have solid, you have liquid, you have gas, and you have plasma. I have touched on this subject when I found some weird stuff a year ago about plasma states, God, consciousness, energy, dielectric, and hydrogen. And this is nanostate of captured and concentrated gases already in the magnetic gravitational, plasmatic state. It radiates out of its own spinning magnetic plasma energy fields, just like the sun, okay? Similar to what happens in the sun on a plasma magnetic state. It draws in gravitational plasma fields. A container of GANs essentially contains millions of suns, so it's like having a lot of, wow, this is what I'm telling you. And he's made it, and he's sending me some to have a look at and to, review and show you. And it's intentionally placed magnetic and gravitational nano-coated coils mounted in units like, I don't know what the units are called. He's got some magnets that link up the tubes around your neck, and it allows the GANs to gas. He says it feels hot when you put it on, and when you put it to your lips, like to feel the heat. There's no heat. It's an energy, and I want to send some out to be tested. All right. So to the regular scribes, we're gonna do a little bit of a test, and I'll give some to you. There is different types of gas that can be applied in there. So this is going on the health and wealth side, the mental state. And when I've put a call out, I've had some responses via email, contacts across media platforms, and I have been extensively trying to look at other than liquids and molecular, alchemical, organic, alchemical. We're doing alchemy with the mind and the law and the rights and the spirits and the soul and the consciousness, but we're doing alchemy with also the biological side and the mental, your dexterity, your self-esteem, your well-being, your this side of it. We want to strengthen and build and give techniques there. And if there are external elements that man can give us to try out, then let me tell you now, I will be the guinea pig. And if there are any more guinea pigs out there that want to, I'll let you know, and we'll proceed with full disclosure and consent. Okay. Thank you to Anders though and others that have got in touch with others with different ideas and techniques, and they're being worked out, but others are a bit more in front than what we are, and they've already got some work to share, and remedies being made left, right and centre.
Yeah, I can see. I'm just looking at Underground. They're saying, if there was a facility meant to be there and they disabled it for that reason, that resulted in you having problems with access, then that's surely a breach of health and safety as well, isn't it? Was a risk assessment done and all that sort of thing before they decided to disable it? 20 questions to ask. I don't know if you could claim all of your rent back for the years that's gone on for, but you could certainly start seeking some compensation.
Sister Angela, on a tangent, Himalayan salt inhalers help the respiratory tract. Sister, we love you. Kev, I think you've got one, haven't you?
Yeah, so that's what Roger's sent down to me very kindly of him. And I must admit, I didn't use it yesterday. I used it for the first 2 days. You sort of sit there and breathe through it for 15 minutes at a time. But I certainly got much easier nights and nicer mornings. So that's something I'm going to be persevering with.
Here we go. So was you answering tenants taken?
There's a few things that Underground's put in there. I've been sort of reading through what's going on.
That, there's a I'm not too clear on that. As tenants, and then we've got rights was taken away from them. So the right to be a tenant, I'm reading into that, for no fault of their own. The tenancy agreement is between the Housing Association and London Underground. So then the landlord has come in maybe and said, so maybe because the housing association act upon the landlord's instruction, the landlord would have maybe hypothetically in a standard setup, the landlord would be the king position and the agents are the trustees and you're the beneficiary because you're living in it. So then if the king says to the trustee, game over, I'm selling the house or I want the tenant out, then they, under law, have an allotted time to give you an amended notice of a tenancy, quit and so forth. Don't get me on the wording, but they've got in law, if you've got vulnerable medical condition, less able children, things like that to consider, you get extra time. But there's a mandatory in England, I think it is, what did I get for Anne-Marie? I've just done this. And did it well. He gave her 2 weeks via a text message and she got 6, I think it was, because minimum of 6 or 8 possibly. I can't remember, Kev, but I've recently done this and there's a video on the channel that will tell you the concise information. Have you got out you want to bounce in or throw in, Kev?
Well, no, just looking, following the underground again. He walks in. Hello, Chris. All right, mate? How are you? I hope I haven't missed anybody.
Easy, yes, right to all. Thank you, scribes, initiates of self, sovereigns, guild members, mentalists, all of the above, indigos. So many labels I could give you, but do you know what? There isn't a label. It's just how much you do, how much you... yeah, I'm reading up, seeing these comments now. I live in South Buckinghamshire, and you've got rubbish landlords, look, still.
Whereabouts?
I'm just scrolling up.
Can't be that far away from me.
It was on about doors.
With the motorways, anyway.
I live in supported living, so there we go. I'm at 23:29 on the comments time. 23:29, Kev. I live in supported living. Short story is back in May 2015. 2 months after I moved in, they disabled my ability to open the front door with my intercom. I have to go downstairs to let people in. However, this was enabled when I moved. I checked my tenancy. It states the tenant's right. Oh, and changes shall be consulted. Yes, okay. I live in... Gotcha. Just don't let folk in at London Underground from MG. Problem solved. Oh, that's a nice... So I cannot recall at any point they consulted me about the doorbell removal disablement issue. They refused to enable the door entry, meaning that they have to go downstairs to open the door. This would be a tenant's right, I'm sure. If so, my tenancy was voided 4.5 years ago. Can I claim the rent back? Ooh, well... Easy. This is no legal advice here, but we can just have a private open chat about hypothetically there are services associated with that property that have been withdrawn. So even though it's not directly affected to the tenancy, the property itself inside, because it's a communal access point, you've been in the property. Now you need to check what the terms are stipulated for property rent, and then is the communal access point extra supplementary in there with the additional luxury benefits of, I'm just playing, hear me out, and then, or is it all just a simple agreement that says you live here, you pay that, and that's what you get, bosh. Anything we want to change, we'll let you know. Nice one. Short, sweet and simple. Or is it chapter and verse with that bit separately put in a clause saying, because some communal areas in private rented properties and that are subject to different rules than the internal quadrant areas of the private property where the tenants live, because not everybody has access to inside your yard, but you have access, and everyone has access to the communal area, so it's dealt with differently, but within the terms of the agreement, but separately, and each one is subject to. So I've done that gently. All right, Kev, anything from you?
Gently, that was it?
Yeah. I'm tired. I need sleep, man.
No, I mean, if there's something there for a reason, and you require that, and that was removed from you, surely there's regulations about shit like that.
I just went strictly contract, but if you are less abled and you live somewhere, there are duties and obligations associated with the two. Oh, yeah. Kev, that's why we love you. Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, of course there'll be the, as I say, when you say claiming all the rent, I mean, look, being realistic, I would say
no.
Technically, probably, yeah, but are you going to get it? Probably not. I think it would just be, I think you could maybe claim something, but I think you'd have to fight for it, but maybe claim something better. But realistically, I don't know what you're going to get out of it. You'd have to be realistic about it.
Is there any damages? Right, all right then. I like
Does
this.
It cause you
come
problems?
Come on. This is where we go.
Does it cause you problems? Does it cause you issues? This not having access to this.
So when you say
switch.
When you say 4.5 years worth of rent, work out what that price would be, and then look to see if there are any comparable damages of which one can apply for the removal of. But then you would be obligated to let them know at the point of damage and injury being sustained. You can't let 4.5 years of damages instead and get adding, John. By the way, 4 years ago, no, you can only act from when you're told. So be very careful with how you play this, because I'm being open. I'm on tube, but you have your own privy way of privately managing this. So you need to be dexterous about when you claim something, and you say, yeah, it started 4.5 years ago. What? Well, why are you only telling me today? You haven't had that many problems for 4.5 years, so you can't hold somebody to account to something that they're oblivious to. They have to be knowledgeable of it, or they have to be breaching the terms, like you said, and then you could pin it back that way. But Kev's got a better angle
or if
there.
you can, if there is something fraudulent's gone on as well, then you haven't really got any statutes to worry about.
A crime, a criminality, sort of a criminality.
Yeah. But most things you can address. You got to start off a bit gentle at first, and then you see how they're going to play ball. When you're talking to these associations, I don't know what you're ever going to get back out of it, to be honest.
It sounds like with a bit of dexterity, you could say something. But if why are you looking at what I'm thinking is, if they've been told, I'm sure they said they've been given notice and the landlord wants them out. So if that's the case, why are you picking a fight with them about things like that, when you really need to be looking at how you'd be staying there, continuing the tenancy? I may have got it wrong, Kev, I don't know, but I'm looking for other comments as well. I'm reading through what Jerry and MG John are chatting about as well. All is good, all is well. Void tenancy, page 911 of my tenancy said, lots of numbers here. I like your numbers, Underground. The tenant has, that may well be, but without I or Kev seeing a copy of that and reading through it, we won't be able to accurately give any kind of insightful. We can only generalise there, and we've given a generalisation. So, there's... have you told them about this before? When did you lodge your first complaint? How long ago was that? If it's been going on for some time and they've ignored it, then bum shanker. Oh yes, baby. Yeah. Oh yes, baby. We are in, home and dry. We could do that in a week and get an out of court settlement. But if they don't know and we haven't said anything, then it depends, doesn't it, Kev? You need to see the terms and conditions and read through it word for word.
Yeah, but have a look, and then say if it's meant to have this disabled thing and you're entitled to use it, which it sounds like you are, then if that's been removed from you,
and no notice given.
That's regulations as well, because they're not just put in as a matter of course. When you start putting stuff like that in, I'm sure the local authorities are involved.
The council, yes.
You have to meet the local authority regulations to put in stuff like that. So to just remove them, there's probably shit to be stirred up with the council as well.
Austerity. We're all in it together. From now on, you've got, I can just see it. After what we've been talking about offshore and tax and whatnot. Yeah. You see, this is how it is. We will pay for our own demise, it seems. through our ignorance, but it's not me saying we're ignorant, because we're not. How could anybody be privy to what we've uncovered? We're not privy to what we've uncovered, because we're still uncovering it to some extent, aren't we? And applying notions, and whatnot. So when you have 60 million statutory regulations, and you got to be knowledgeable within employment, contract, health and safety, all of these things here, and how you get about liability, payments, clearances, processing, representation, legal liability. And these are just everyday things that we all take, legal. Oh, that's illegal, that is. When I was little, I believed that when I heard that's illegal, that somebody had done something wrong. But now I know that's bullshit. That illegal is Roman, Club of London, money, crown, revenue generation. It's civil and it's illegal because it's against their rules, which is what Kev has taught me to consider more often, than going in with other such arguments. Because when you go with the own systems recognise, I know law is higher and it speaks volumes and we can cite it and win, but when you go in with some of their stuff, it's just a little bit of a two fingers up to them to go, by your own rules you're wrong, let alone the law that I've got as a supplementary on page 2.
On top of that, on top of your huge massive fraud that's right in broad daylight,
on page 2
I've also got
on page 2 I've also got a listing of the crimes under law that you've committed to man. Now how would you like to proceed? And so we are learning, and it is coming
very
along.
Quietly they proceeded last time, very quietly.
And if you've legally entered into a contract, that's it, and it does carry the full weight of their legal enforcement system, the forces of their laws. But the law that we're after doesn't use any force. It just ebbs and flows, so to speak. It just is. It is. We are the crown. You are crowned when you arrive, and as the crown, and the soul, literally the soul. That the sole corporation is what they've done when a person. You see, let me tell you this. What I learned a bit ago. There was a corporation that made a biological. And it is related to this video, so I'll carry on, but it's sickening in a way. They created, this is to do with sole corporations and persons and people, by the way. So this company created a biological entity that would eat up oil slicks, and it was an algae, micro biolife. It wasn't a four-legged, physical mammal as such. It was a tiny little blob in a dish. And someone went to patent it, some chemical fuel company went to patent this little beauty, because it would loads of these, millions of these, it'd eat up any oil slick in months. You would never know it was there. Back to normal. Excellent idea. So what do? We patent it, and the patent office said no. What? And I commend them for this. Like I say, we're not here to slag off every institution, or there's only certain parts of institutions.
We try.
So the good old patent office went, no, we're not going to accept that. It's biological life. We draw a line at this shizzle. Who do you think you are? You don't fuck around with it. It's God's land. Leave it. And there was a repeal against that. And somebody somewhere says yes, and I'll leave you to find it out. I know full well what went off. I'm just, playing around with you for those that like to go fishing. And this biological entity by this company was then patented. It turns out now, remember I'm on about persons and souls and bondage and the darker side of life, that there are lots of biological patents going off and nanotype patents going off. Biological thing is, and they are racing to patent and copy all of these random, and that scares me more than what we found out in law, because now we've bushed through and we know reasonably where we're situated, where we're going, what and who and where, and families and lineages and books and dictionaries, and we've come a long way. And we should be proud, but while we've done that, these have gone on with the next level, and where they're out with CRISPR and things, it's we need help again now, because yeah, the technology side of things, and the way that they've into law and business. A person, I won't go into the company and the corporation that claimed that it needed rights as a person and what year that was and what rights a legal entity being classed as a person in law. So then when you go talk about the company that you work for, it has rights in law. And it's like, hang on, whoa. No wonder God's not a respecter of persons when you get down to it all. And I know I've sidetracked a bit there, but it just death and the occult and the negative, and black and white is not man. It's not our world, and ultimately, yeah, we're going to build. This is the legacy, and the prophecy. We are fulfilling a prophecy. I believe that. I'm not trying to get biblical, but we are, whether we like it or not. And now we've got Claudio and Santos and Jordan and Santos chat and brother who Mauro of the big Lino family and wow, we're still only into January, the beginning of, and look how much information and action and energy has moved and come and made itself known, and we've got 10 years of this to come, another several 100 months, and we're in month 2 of it. So I'm sticking to my word bond honor that this is the last year. I swear in front of the Creator on my soul that
how long have we been saying that?
No, yeah, this has got to be. We've come with a trust. We've come with this. We've had wins. We are winning. The barriers are moving. The bar is being raised, but without the adequate backup and access, we've been to the Chancery. I've put the private call recording of the Royal Courts of Justice on the .com in the associated forum for you to hear what the services the Royal Courts of Justice offer, what the telephone numbers are, what the extensions are, what I did. There's a call recording edited, but redacted somewhat, but the guts of the call with the Courts of Justice after my hearing with the apprentice master at the Chancery, and we're moving. All right, we're not just sitting here on keyboards and watching YouTube videos and smoking weed and making videos. We're doing stuff as well. That other stuff that I just said is just a bonus. I jest. Serious, but so when Babylon is crumbling and things are changing, the technology and the news feeds and what's going off and the disclosures that we're having, and the great work that's being done by others, Kev, that we're posting and being privy to. I'd like to give a shout out for everybody else out there that's in their own realm, aside from the FE, the Flat Earth, and the Tangents, Tartarian, the actual ones that are doing, that's as great as it is. That's a distraction to me, because when blood is being spilled and famine and women and children and what's going off, rights are being shredded in the form of financial gain and profit and usurpation, then that's why we're here doing this. Once we've conquered this, then we'll go and build rockets and go and check if the Earth's flat or round or whatever, but until then, let's crack on, please.
Don't worry about it, because it ain't going to change nothing anyway, whatever shape it is.
Or Tartaria and mud floods and these certain topics that arise, and Mandela effect, and it's just incredible what Jordan and Santos have done on that People for People radio video. It is like two Jedi Masters having an annual meeting, and just Jordan to credit Santos's work and his output and his amalgamation of what he's ultimately experienced in his life, and then put together to try and help others understand the testaments and zodiacs and energies and sentences and occultism, symbology. It's and I look at what Maxwell said and what was done there. You coughing on the phone there, it's nothing like having Maxwell on it. He's 80, bless him, I think he said. And what was said there, there's there's a lot of key information, and I did like when he said, I can't really answer that, you'd have to go, my lawyer says that I have to build a private website. This was one of the pinnacle moments for me. And I know I'm not home and dry, but it was just reassuring to hear, okay, when Maxwell says to Bonacci that he's got to be careful at what he says now, because he can only put it on a private website, because his lawyer has said that when you do that, it then stops you from X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I will use that and tell the scribes, when we talk of public liability and the public and the danger of it, Maxwell cemented it when he was like dropping his website in, and that's all very well and good. You know, we all need to promote where we are and what we do, and the jordanmaxwellshow.com is where that man lives. Now, whether or not he's in a secret society, and I daren't say one thing or another about him, I just appreciate what he's given and what he's enabled me to do, and that's it. You know, if he's in the club and a gang and he does handshakes, then so be it. Good on him. He's got to answer for his soul. You have to answer for your soul, lest we not judge and we just crack on. And for that, I just, you know, I'm taking some hits for saying and putting Maxwell's files on the .com and certain things and how we are with, you know, others. But we have to, Kev, I don't know, maybe the same for you. We have to look at stuff, and we have to take it with a big umbrella and take the negative with the positive and carry on and just see, because sometimes you can push through. Because if you ignore Jordan and he gives you, out of all them videos, one video of crucial information, and you miss it because you listen to others' opinion of somebody, then you miss that information. Now, I won't listen to others' opinion of somebody and risk missing information, you see. So that's how I look at it. I will bear in mind what you've said, and I will accept it, and I will be wary now, and I will be forewarned, and forewarned is forearmed. Bosh, done.
Yeah.
Crack on. Yeah. This thing about, oh, but he met somebody once, then so what? And okay, thank you. It doesn't mean that what they say is utter claptrap or a trick or past syntax, quantum grammar. Win Miller, bang on the money. Oh, but he's a Mason. He's got it was and you know. I used to be a skinhead, and not a racist skinhead. I just mean a skinhead, a traditional, you know, naughty skinhead back in the day.
A Masonic skinhead.
Yeah, no, I still had a skinhead. Oh, do you have your hair that short for? You look like a criminal, Dave, a convict. So I had it short all the time because I loved it, just to be a rebel, you know. So yeah. We've been going a while, Kev. It is nearly 12 and I am up for school tomorrow. We've got nobody with flares. We've had a good crack. We've put information out there. The scribes are good.
What's going on here?
Let's look at closing
miles
down.
behind on the
Zodiac.
room.
John says you are the Zodiac every day when you're asleep. Cryptic, John. But yes, the animal kingdom is above us. It is below us. The lion on the .com. We fight like lions, not the Lion of Judah. We fight like lions, simple as. Molly, hello. I see
Alright,
Molly.
I see we are.
M&M's dropped in.
Really? Super Leeds.
London saying that they're under
Angela.
the...
Simon.
Kev, London says that they're under the mental health team, etc. means they are covered by those laws, though the right of access is being interfered with.
Well, there you go. That's one of the first things you put them up. But what you got to get to is how much, basically, how long's it been going on? How much aggro has it caused you? Because that's where your damages lie ultimately, aren't they? That I can see.
And removal,
There's no access to the keypad thing you were saying or something.
Yeah, well, we normally remove the implied rights of access to third-party agents, interlopers, etc., for the easements and property access points. So that's interesting. They should use those words, because then effectively the housing association have removed the implied rights of access to the tenant without consent, breaching the terms of the agreement. No.
Then it's also, did you say sheltered accommodation? Something like that, was it? Super, I don't know.
No, just said...
because it might be slightly different, Dave.
No, sheltered. I didn't say sheltered. I just said they were under the mental health.
If that was meant, what sort of, is it assisted housing or something like that?
Probably. Sheltered,
Well,
yeah, maybe.
so it
Yeah.
might be slightly different if it's assisted. They might have, you know, it might be slightly different if there's people at risk there as to what they can do. But they still can't shut off a disabled thing, but access-wise, because of people's situations, that's all I'm thinking. That's what I thought I heard earlier, but maybe I've just made it all up in my head for a laugh.
You plonker.
Yeah, I just thought I'll just fabricate this story, make up my own idea of what's going on.
Kevin.
Kev's version.
No. All right, let's have a look. We're scrolling back down and thank you for the 2 hours and 28. It has been fun.
Is that what we've done? Oh, of course we did, yeah. Bonus. Thank you.
Yeah, sheltered housing, supported living, Kev, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right, so what all I'm saying is, I know you're saying about third parties and that coming in, but all I'm saying is it might be slightly different rules about access.
Yeah.
Because people are supported. You know, that's all I'm trying to think of, but what...
It might be safety. Wait, it could even be a safety mechanism they've installed it for. It might be that they've withdrawn. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying they might angle it at community safety. If everybody's got to come downstairs or come to the front door, at least to let the guest and the visitor in, then there's going to be less footfall now, isn't there? Because sometimes in blocks, kids stand there and they just press all the bloody buttons. But now, if someone's got to come to the door to see these kids, they're going to give them a round of fox, aren't they? Now then, what you doing? You know, and you're going to... But then again, that's more putting the people in danger. Or they'll just ignore it, I suppose. But I'm just...
So if you need that access, though, from the disabled button, which is obviously usually sighted much lower down, for obvious reasons, and that's been removed and it's caused aggro for you. I mean, it's, you know, well,
no, they're fully abled. I'm not saying it hasn't caused them aggro, but they're fully abled, they've said, and they can get up and down the stairs. So I don't think it will have had as much impact as it could have done if they were less able, not able to get up and down correctly. Then it would have been a problem. Kev?
Sorry, mate. I'm
just checking.
Back in the room. I'm still here. Yeah, I haven't died. Oh, mate, don't worry. You'll hear me when I
thought
die.
my phone had cut off. I thought, no, it's reset. Sometimes you just randomly...
I'll make a load. No, I keep checking. Mine's all right here. Still. Actually, they're both powered up anyway, so... should be okay this end.
I was absolutely knackered when I came on this chat. Now it's 12 o'clock and I'm wide awake, club. Wackaday. Timmy Mallet's in the house. Magic's Mallet. Mallet's Mallet.
Proper loom bag, wasn't he?
I couldn't believe it when I heard he was in Ibiza, and I'm like, he's getting more money than me. Timmy Mallet, he's what? What do you mean he's DJ? Oh, he's not DJing, he's just entertaining drunken people. I'm like, what? Yeah, they pay him to go around and just go to the parties and do what he used to do on TV. I'm like, wow. That's some way. Yeah, in Ibiza and places, yeah. Timmy Mallet, what? Is this for real?
Peeled off his face. Anyway, no, I didn't say that. Allegedly. Allegedly.
In Ibiza, that's, it's $10 a beer. No. That's what they do, don't they? You go out and off the faces. So, we're all good, everyone's happy. We've had a chat with Underground. Yeah, I'm not belittling any of your rights or how you may or may not feel. I was just applying a practical, summarisation, evaluation, third external outlook upon, so we can see what go on.
you have
That's
to
all.
you
Yeah.
have to pull this stuff apart a little bit. Unfortunately, because you try and look at it from every angle, so we need as much information as possible. But I don't know ultimately what you might get out of them. I really wouldn't like to say, but if you feel that there's some compensation, certainly if regulations and that have been broken for this disabled access thing, then
Yeah, because that's probably why they didn't write and ask for everybody's consent, because they wouldn't. This is often why we find rules are broken, because they put rules in place or procedure, and then they don't follow it, and we say, well, these are your own rules, and by your own rules you can't prove that you followed your own rules, so therefore our claim stands. We claim this, you claim that. Well, you prove that. You can't. Well, then, there's your rules, and you didn't notify. You haven't got the consent. So, simply put, on the bare bones of it, that's an open and shut case. And the fact they didn't write to ask for consent is because they knew if one person had said no, they couldn't have withdrawn that service. So, they cut corners and thought, we'll see who kicks off and we'll deal with them. Maybe. I'm not saying that's right, but that sounds like what may happen.
A lot of them do exactly that. They know that if they warn everybody, or then somebody might go, oh, you can't do that because of this, that and the other, and get on the council, and then there's all sort of shit. So they just, basically, a lot of it is done on hoping people are ignorant. It really is. But if they could prove there was some sort of threat with these kids getting in, I suppose, but then I don't know, I need to know a little bit more about the keypad thing, what's going on with that, because if there's a code to get in, then why, the kids thing shouldn't be a problem, and that's, of course, they're just rushing the door. What can you do about that?
But it's a technicality.
Tasers.
What we're talking about here, you see, because what we've tried to do is examine the need for and the requirement and the duties and the obligations. And now when the music stops playing and the lights come on and it's time for everybody to go home, we're looking at a technicality in an agreement that hasn't had consent when it says it should have. So just on that basis alone, and being anal about it, you're probably right. You could argue that if there is an agreement in a legal arena and it stipulates X, Y, and Z, even though there is no damages, even though there has been no calamity of such and injury and X, Y, and Z, it has inconvenienced you, and you got into a certain routine of how to answer your door, and now to go down and do that without having to decided to do that and being told to do that is then an encroachment and a breach, and technically there is no defence for that. No, so there may not be any damages, but then again, we're trained to look at it, I suppose, or we often look at it like that just to, see the full picture. So then you could still argue on technicalities, couldn't you, for that point, and then see where you end up. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, if it's causing you problems because you have to go and physically go down the stairs or whatever and answer the door, and you've got disability, then that is causing you a nuisance. But I'm saying what you could realistically go for,
yeah,
I wouldn't like to say.
Yeah,
I mean, small claims court, really, under 10 grand.
Yeah, it's about them, how they let the visitors in from the entry phone, not about going down to the door. It's just they can't let them in and
I
to let
understand,
folk
but
in.
I know what. So they can't let it in from the flat because that's just, so they have to go and physically let them in. But is that where if you've got any disability of that and that's happening, then that's causing you an issue. Simple as that.
All done. We've properly covered all angles on this, so nice one. Thank you, Kev, for your time and your humour as per usual.
Yeah, sorry about the coughing. See, it's improved slightly because I'm inside now. It's amazing what that cold air does to my two little old raisins I've got as lungs.
URC Childs, I love you all. I'm glad I scrolled up just because I caught that one as well. Bless. Jerry says, love ye, man. Lasagna and garlic bread. The stuff you lot are on with, it's just so, the minds, the chats, and everyone's sending messages to each other and in general to each other. It's been very busy. Thank you all. Thumbs up, smiles, hearts. And to London, new scribe. I hope you wasn't disappointed. You've had a laugh and we've given you some kind of enlightenment somewhere. There was no legal advice given here by I or Kev or this channel ever. Do not get confused. You would need a legal high street licensed expert for that. We're all good. We've done well. We've covered the points. I've got some figures and facts and some bits of history and some names there as well. Not just mentioning Tony Blair, usual ones and bits and bobs, and the ones that come in and where they go after they've performed their duty and role, if they've done it, you know. And this knowledge, it is a bit dark and confusing. Finances, law, religion, you know, all of what it is. We have most of the answers of which we need the substance to form, and we can prove beyond reasonable doubt that what go on is not what we have been led to think. As simple as that. And that comes down to money, property, your science, your maths, quite a lot actually. Mostly everything is not as it seems and has another few layers or, you know, angles, doesn't it, Kev? So it's
it's all just deceptive. What you think is government isn't government at all. What you think, you know, departments, and it's all just rotten to the core. Your council's not a proper council because it's a private business. It's everything. Now you know there's a tax on everything, parking here and that there. It's just all it's about is the money.
Do you know another
money.
Another analogy you've just reminded me of then, Kev? I'm glad you said that before we go. I was doing some research and I happened to be on a video of olden days, and in it had some footage, and this chappie came along and he said, it's a bit like the fire brigade, don't you know? If you wasn't in the club and the fire brigade was called, they wouldn't put your house out. I went, what? He said, yes, that's right. The fire brigade wasn't always a public, and this is an American, he wasn't speaking English, but he was very old and black and white video. I was going through some archives and I happened to stumble upon this man telling us that the fire brigade was a contributory based trust service, and wow, yeah, if you was burning, yeah, and if you weren't in it, then they was running around and you flagged them down and goes, nah, can you just put some water? No, if you got, and you didn't have the plaque on your house, then you didn't have your house put out by the fire brigade. And I was like, this is how these kind of public trust, if you research it, and I'm not going to give you all the dates and times and everything, but the fire brigade and the ambulance are like a trust on the police, I suppose. You trust that you can call something, but we've trusted in this in other ways, the government, and it doesn't exist, which is offices of acting for, you know, agencies on the seas of Caesar, and we go to these, and we often find the language and the instruments, and what we're doing is not as it seems, and ignorance is no defence, and that's where it ends, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. No defence at all. It's good when you throw it at them, though. They don't like it up and... But it's all, yes, onward and upward. It's been a good start to the year.
It's been a cold, long one for me. Cold and long. January was cold and long. It was like every day was like, wow, we're still in January. We're still in January. I'm sorry, but that was just my experience. I'm happy in spring.
Mate, we'll soon be in spring. March will be here. That'll be here before you know it.
Yes, I'm thinking of doing like a little, I don't know, trip to the Royal Courts. I've got a lot of requests for meetups and seminars and things, so what I might do is privately announce, I know I'm kind of teasing you by doing this, but ones that can contact and want to contact will make the contact and get in contact, because I know what you like, so I can leave that there. The ones with the will enact their will and manifest, and it will be done. But I'm thinking a trip, a party to the courts of London, or just a meet-up if the ones that want
Yeah.
to do something and that are itching and want to come and find and meet and have a drink or something, and we make a day of it. And I'm thinking of just a random day in the corporate city of El Babi, London, and I'll let you know through the .com, and we can go to the RCJ, and I've got the room numbers. I've put all the information on what you do and how you do it down there.
Heart of the beast.
I think a peaceful, and now we have to be careful because saying on YouTube and thinking about gathering in London just makes yourself a target, doesn't it? No trills and shills, just a family. So you got to.
No, let's go and have a wander around Temple Bar.
So I'm not going to announce anything on YouTube for that reason, because we've monitored and terrorism and threats and all of these claims. I'm trying to be very careful and honourable, but I think that privately we could arrange to and that's how we have to do it, as Jordan's lawyer said. God Lord. God, it's what they've done to us, but soon we won't need to be doing all of this. Once we
listen to them fuckers.
Once the correction and the things are done and so forth, it's not going to be so militant, is it?
I was thinking to myself the other day that if I had to go for some reason, I now had to go and deal with the solicitor, not for say law, say something to do with property or something, I would be an absolute bloody nightmare for him or them. Can you imagine?
Good night, everybody.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm just saying good night, Kev. Scribes are flaking out. We've done them in.
All right.
They've reached.
Let you go then.
They've gone past the saturation point. They're too flimsy now. It's just like Mr. Softs everywhere. We've done them in.
No worries. And that's been a good run, actually. Right then, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you all.
Everybody for being in the room. Nice numbers, good chat. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much.
Some positivity. We'll do this weekly if we can, or I will anyway, and we'll get involved and do some mental alchemic conversions, mantras, such things as mindfulness, mentalism. Try it out with your feelings if you're like I in the beginning or several years ago, and passionate and reactive. Try to respond instead, and to think about how you might react, how you could react, and how you are going to react, and how long that reaction's going to take. The more that you can delay it when it's a passionate one is the skill there. I'll leave it that way.
Yeah, just change reactions works amazing, especially if you know there's signs of certain things, especially with depression and stuff like that. You find that you sort of get into something will set the mind off, and then you think, I know where this is going to end up, and often it does. So
take some time. Tell your family you need some time out. Start making time, or start talking to each other. If not, you can talk to us. You can make another account under a spurious name and come back and chat your heart's content. Nobody will know who you are. So, and if you've got techniques and things and mentors, gurus and things,
stuff to share.
Let us know.
What's worked for you?
Yeah, because if you email me them, I was going to say I'll read them all out, and then whatever you send me, I'll then re-give back to the fam on a cast of email, going through filtering, and then I'll represent them to you and put all the links in, so then you can follow them and we can share and develop that way as well.
Absolutely, mate.
It's a clear night. It's going to be a cold one. Wrap up. Get a hot water bottle. Much love to all.
I'll just pull up another bridge back.
Talking about garlic bread and lasagnas now, look, you mad.
No, I see that in there, I know.
Good chat from Quinn.
Yeah, Chris. Right, mate. The missus. Quinn. John. Albert.
I'm going to say Albert's just popped in. I've just seen his...
Underground. I know I think he's been around most of the night. He probably passed out for a while. He just loves listening to us prattle on about next to nothing.
Yeah, much love. Thanks all. Let's go, Kev. Let's do
All
this.
right, mate.
Thank you, Scribes. Good night.
Thank you.
Ciao, bello.
Bye.